अनमोल बिश्नोई की 7 दिन की जो कस्टडी है वो और बढ़ा दी जाए और लगातार एनआईए ऑफिशियल्स अनमोल बिश्नोई से पूछताछ कर रहे हैं। शुरुआती फेज में 3 एंगल्स पर इन्वेस्टिगेशन की जा रही है। एक कि कौन कौन से लोग भारत में बैठकर अनमोल बिश्नोई की मदद कर रहे थे, दूसरा लॉजिस्टिक इनको कौन प्रोवाइड करा रहा था, और तीसरा किसके कहने पर जो किलिंग्स है लगातार अनमोल बिश्नोई कर रहा था। और इन किलिंग्स में बाबा सिद्दीकी केस का भी जिक्र साफ तौर पर किया गया। इसके अलावा सलमान खान के घर के बाहर जो फायरिंग हुई उस केस के बारे में भी डिस्कशन किया गया। लेकिन 3 एंगल, उन तीनों ही एंगल्स को एक तरीके से खंगालने की कोशिश है वो एनआईए ऑफिशियल करते नजर आ रहे हैं और आने वाले 7 दिनों में इसी तर्ज पर पूछताछ की जाएगी।
जी Jatin, you mentioned the issue of logistics. In fact, that is what I was coming to next. You know, one of the key points that was put forth by the NIA while by the Indian authorities, in fact, while they were seeking his extradition, is how extensive this Lawrence Bishoi gang is. They operate across 13 states in India. I want to understand कि क्या अनमोल बिश्नोई को over the course of this investigation और जगह ले जाया जाएगा? क्या उनके जो बाकी साथी है, ऑपरेटिव्स है, क्या वो कहाँ पे है इस वक्त, उनको ट्रेस करने के लिए क्या इनकी मदद ली जाएगी? ये इन्वेस्टिगेशन कैसे प्रोसीड होगा यहाँ से?
बिल्कुल, देखिए अभी तक कोर्ट को ये जानकारी नहीं दी गई है। ना ही एनआईए ने बोला है कि इसको पंजाब लेकर जाना है, वेस्टर्न यूपी लेकर जाना है, हरियाणा के उन जगहों पर लेकर जाना है जहां पर लॉरेंस बिश्नोई गैंग अपना एक पैरेलल चेन खड़ा करने की कोशिश कर रहा था। क्योंकि सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट इतना है, अनमोल बिश्नोई जिन नामों को ले रहा है उन नामों को एनआईए की टीम लोकल पुलिस के साथ कोऑर्डिनेट कर जगह जगह पर रेड्स कर रही है। पिछले 3 दिनों में मल्टीपल जगहों पर एनआईए ने रेड की और अनमोल बिश्नोई के कहने पर इन रेड्स को कंडक्ट किया गया, जिसमें पंजाब और हरियाणा के कुछ जो इलाके थे वो शामिल थे। उस बारे में भी जो एनआईए ने कोर्ट को जानकारी दी। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात कि जिन केसेस में अनमोल बिश्नोई का डायरेक्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट था, चाहे वो बाबा सिद्दीकी केस को लेकर हो, इसके अलावा सलमान खान के घर के बाहर फायरिंग करने को लेकर हो, ये ऐसे हाई प्रोफाइल केस थे जिसमें डायरेक्ट जिम्मेदारी अनमोल बिश्नोई ने ली थी। सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेज दरअसल ये जानना चाह रही है कि बाबा सिद्दीकी की हत्या के पीछे कौन था, किसने डायरेक्शन दिया। इस सवाल का जवाब अनमोल बिश्नोई से लेना है। और जिस तरीके से मैंने आपको बताया कि कैसे अनमोल बिश्नोई को मददगार भारत में बैठे हुए लोग कर रहे थे, उनको पकड़ना सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है ताकि इस पूरे नेक्सस को तोड़ा जाए, इस पूरे नेक्सस का जो एक तरीके से पर्दाफाश है वो किया जाए। और इन्हीं 3 एंगल्स पर लगातार एनआईए इन्वेस्टिगेशन कर रही है और अनमोल बिश्नोई से पूछताछ की जा रही है।
All right, Jatin, thank you for giving us those details. We'll keep a close watch on what happens for him next. Viewers, let's quickly move on to more news that we're tracking. This fresh breaking news that is coming in as far as the India Gate protest is concerned. We're now learning that the Delhi police has obtained incriminating videos showing the arrested protesters supporting those opposing the nation. One such video was found of students from BSCEM, that is the Bhagat Singh Student Unity Forum, who gathered in a conference room in Hyderabad in February, raising slogans and singing in support of RSU, which is a radical student union. Coincidentally, viewers, this organization was banned by the Indian government in 2005, and it is this banned organization that these people are singing in support of. Students seen in the video are Gurkirat and Ravjot. They also raised slogans in support of Madhvi Hidma during the India Gate protest, misbehaved with the Delhi police while performing their duties. The latest developments that we are picking up. Jatin, my colleague, continues to be with us live, tracking all these details very, very closely. Jatin, ये जो लड़के जिनको वीडियो में देखा गया है, क्या ये अभी पुलिस की हिरासत में है? क्या इनसे क्वेश्चनिंग की गई है? इनका क्या कनेक्शन है ये जो बैंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है इसके साथ?
बिल्कुल, देखिए गुरकीरत और रवजोत ये दोनों ही वो लड़की हैं जो कि इंडिया गेट पर प्रोटेस्ट कर रही थी और नक्सलाइट को लेकर जो स्लोगन्स वहाँ पर रेस किए गए थे, हडिम्बा को लेकर, वो स्लोगन भी इन दोनों के जरिए ही रेस किया गया था। फिलहाल ये दोनों दिल्ली पुलिस के अरेस्ट किए गए थे और दिल्ली पुलिस की कस्टडी में ही हैं। इनके बैकग्राउंड को खंगाला गया तो दिल्ली पुलिस को ये वीडियो मिला है। 2005 में एक बैनर के चलते ये लोग नक्सलियों जो मारे गए थे उनके एक तरीके से उनको शहादत देने की इन लोगों की कोशिश थी और हैदराबाद के कॉन्फ्रेंस हॉल में ये लगातार देश विरोधी बातें करते हुए भी नजर आ रहे हैं। इस वीडियो को जब आप सुनेंगे तो आप समझ पाएंगे कि इनकी सोच किस तरीके से इन नक्सलियों को लेकर थी। वो लगातार भारत के खिलाफ बातें करते हुए आपको इस वीडियो में नजर आ रहे हैं। ना सिर्फ बातें कर रहे हैं बल्कि नक्सलियों को शहीद का दर्जा देने की बात इस वीडियो में की जा रही है। हालांकि कोर्ट में दिल्ली पुलिस ने ये तमाम वीडियोज जो है वो बतौर एविडेंस रखे हैं, क्योंकि कर्तव्य पथ पुलिस स्टेशन में जो एफआईआर दर्ज की गई वो नक्सल नक्सलवाद और आतंकवाद के खिलाफ जिस तरीके से नक्सलवाद और आतंकवाद को प्रमोट करने की बात ये लोग कर रहे थे, उसी तर्ज पर एफआईआर दर्ज की गई और उसी का ये सबसे बड़ा सबूत है कि जो लोग गिरफ्तार किए गए वो गुमराह करके नहीं आए थे, वो पूरी कॉन्स्पिरेसी के चलते इंडिया गेट पहुंचे थे और हिडिंबा को लेकर जो इनका प्रोटेस्ट था वो एक सोची समझी साजिश थी। और उसी बैकचेन को खंगालते हुए दिल्ली पुलिस इस तरीके के सबूतों को इकट्ठा कर रही है ताकि जो लोग गिरफ्तार किए गए, जो खुद को स्टूडेंट्स बता रहे हैं, एक्टिविस्ट बता रहे हैं, उनकी सोच किस तरीके से थी। और ये वीडियो अपने आप में एक बड़ा एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है दिल्ली पुलिस के लिए भी कि इस और इशारा करना है कि ये लोग कैसे देश विरोधी बातें आज से नहीं कर रहे, कई साल पहले से कर रहे हैं। रेडिकल स्टूडेंट यूनियन करके इन लोगों ने अपना पूरा जो एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है उसको शुरू किया, उसके जरिए वो नक्सलियों को शहादत देने की जो बात है वो करते हुए नजर आते हैं, भारत के खिलाफ बातें करते हुए नजर आते हैं। हैदराबाद के एक मंच में ये पूरा जो समारोह है वो किया जाता है। ना सिर्फ जो नक्सली मारे गए उनकी शहादत को एक गाने के जरिए जैसे कि लेफ्ट आइडियोलॉजी पेश की जाती है उस तर्ज पर ये लोग बोलते हुए भी नजर आ रहे थे। फिलहाल ये सभी सबूत अब फॉरेंसिक जांच के लिए भेजे जा रहे हैं, साथ ही फॉरेंसिक अप्रूवल मिलने के बाद कोर्ट में सबमिट किया जा रहा है ताकि इस पूरी कॉन्स्पिरेसी को एक तरीके से व्हाइट वॉश करने का काम अब दिल्ली पुलिस करती नजर आ रही है। जी
Absolutely. In fact, Jatin, let's tell our viewers that the Delhi police had made a very strong case in court while arguing for the custody of these protesters, that this was a pre-planned conspiracy, I beg your pardon, viewers, and they had come planned not, to protest against rising pollution levels in the national capital, but to essentially promote an anti-India narrative. Jatin, one more question before I let you go. I want to understand where the investigation stands at currently, and ऐसे कितने CCTV footages है जो अब तक दिल्ली पुलिस एग्जामिन कर चुकी है?
25 से ज़्यादा सीसीटीवी जो कैमरेज हैं वो पुलिस एग्जामिन कर चुकी है। बाकायदा एक पूरा सीक्वेंस दिल्ली पुलिस ने इस पूरे मामले में तैयार किया। गुरकीरत की ये फोटो वीडियो मैं आपको लगातार दिखा रहा हूँ। इसके अलावा एक अक्षय नाम का जो एक्टिविस्ट खुद को बता रहा है, स्टूडेंट भी है, वो भी प्रोटेस्ट करने पहुंचा था और उसी ने ही सबसे पहले दिल्ली पुलिस पर जो पेपर स्प्रे है उससे हमला किया, पुलिस पर्सनल के साथ मिस हैंडलिंग की। 25 से ज़्यादा सीसीटीवी कैमरे हैं जिसमें ये सभी लोग रोड को ब्लॉक करते हुए नजर आ रहे हैं। उन कैमरों में ये भी बहुत क्लियर दिख रहा है कि पुलिस बार बार समझा रही थी कि आप इंडिया गेट के पर प्रोटेस्ट नहीं कर सकते, सुप्रीम कोर्ट की गाइडलाइन का हवाला भी दिया जा रहा था, लेकिन उसके बावजूद ये लगातार भारत विरोधी नारे वहां पर लगाने लगे। हिडिंबा को शहादत देने के जो एक तरीके से स्लोगन है वो वहां पर रेस करने लगे और यही कारण था कि 25 से ज्यादा सीसीटीवी कैमरों का पूरा सीक्वेंस है जो कि खुद नई दिल्ली डीसीपी ने बाकायदा कोर्ट में आर्गुमेंट करते हुए उस सीक्वेंस को बताया भी और बतौर एविडेंस वो तमाम सीसीटीवी कैमरे जो हैं वो कोर्ट में सबमिट किए भी हैं। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात कि पूरी जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन दिल्ली पुलिस की चल रही है वो कॉन्स्पिरेसी के बेसिस पर चल रही है कि कैसे प्लानिंग की गई।
सही तरीके से देखा जाए तो कुछ शक्तियां ऐसी हैं जिनके आज बयान विभाजनकारी है। एक तरफ विभाजनकारी शक्तियां खड़ी है, दूसरी तरफ कुछ ऐसे समाचार है जो देश को जोड़ने वाले हैं। इन दोनों को यहां अपने अपने परिप्रेक्ष्य में रखना आवश्यक है। एक तरफ हमने देखा कि जमायत उलेमाए हिंद के प्रमुख मौलाना महमूद मदनी भोपाल में जब जमायत उलेमाए हिंद का गवर्निंग काउंसिल की मीटिंग हो रही थी उसमें उनके बयान को सुना है। अभी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में मैं विस्तार से बताऊंगा। दूसरी ओर हमने देखा है किस प्रकार SIR को लेकर अखिलेश यादव जी ने अपने कार्यकर्ताओं के साथ मीटिंग की और मीटिंग के पश्चात जिस प्रकार का बयान अखिलेश यादव जी ने दिया है वह न केवल भ्रामक है मगर वह भी विभाजनकारी है। और दूसरी तरफ आज हमने देखा है कि भारत का जो GDP ग्रोथ रेट Q2 का रिलीज हुआ है वह किस प्रकार एक ऐतिहासिक फिगर है 8.2% में। इन सभी विषयों पे आज हम चर्चा करेंगे इस प्रेस वार्ता में कि देश की विघटनकारी शक्तियां किस प्रकार देश की अच्छाइयों के ऊपर काला साया मंडराना चाहती है, काले बादल से उसे ढक देना चाहती है, मगर देश की जनता ऐसा होने नहीं देगी। सर्वप्रथम मैं आना चाहता हूं जमीयत उलेमाए हिंद के प्रमुख मौलाना महमूद मदनी जी, जिन्होंने आज भोपाल में एक बहुत बड़े बैठक में जिस प्रकार से भाषण दिया है वह न केवल भड़काऊ है अपितु देश को विभाजन की ओर लेने की उनकी कुचेष्टा है। उनका कहना कि जिहाद होना चाहिए, जब जब जुल्म होगा तब तब जिहाद होगा। मुझे लगता है यह बहुत ही अनुचित शब्द है, बहुत ही अनुचित वाक्य है। और जिहाद के नाम पर जिस प्रकार से लोगों ने भारतवर्ष में ही नहीं, भारतवर्ष के बाहर भी आतंक फैलाया जिहाद के नाम पे, वह हमने देखा है। तो स्वाभाविक रूप से यह कहना कि भारत में जिहाद होगा एक बहुत ही इर्रेस्पॉन्सिबल, गैर जिम्मेदारी से भरा हुआ एक वचन है। दूसरा जो मौलाना महमूद मदनी ने कहा वह था कि सरकार के दबाव में, भारत सरकार की दबाव में भारत की अदालतें काम करती है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट को भी सुप्रीम कहलाने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट हमारे केसेस को एडमिट कैसे करती है? सुप्रीम कोर्ट 3 तलाक पे सुनवाई कैसी करती है? सुप्रीम कोर्ट मंदिर मस्जिद वाले विषय पर सुनवाई कैसे करती है? इन विषयों पर बोलते हुए मदनी साहब ने कहा कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट को भी सुप्रीम कहलाने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है। मैं तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट से गुजारिश करूंगा, मैं भी एक साधारण नागरिक हूं, आप भी नागरिक हैं, कि यदि सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऊपर कोई साधारण नागरिक भी इस प्रकार की टिप्पणी करता है तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट सुओ मोटो कॉग्निजेंस ले सकता है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट खुद इसकी सुनवाई कर सकता है, क्योंकि आगे चलकर अगर इतने बड़े नेता, एक कौम के इतने बड़े नेता इस प्रकार की बात कह के लोगों को बरगलाने की कोशिश करें, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के विरोध लोगों को भड़काए, तो स्वाभाविक रूप से इट डिमीन्स द स्टेचर ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट। I firmly believe that the Supreme Court should take a cognizance of what Mr. Madani has said today. इस देश में सुप्रीम कोर्ट हर उस केस की सुनवाई करती है जो जनता जनार्दन सुप्रीम कोर्ट के देवड़ी पर लेकर जाती है। इसमें कौन सा हिंदू का केस है, कौन से मुसलमान के केस है, इसके तरजीह पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट कभी भेदभाव नहीं करती है। तीसरा विषय, बड़े दुख के साथ मुझे कहना पड़ रहा है कि मौलाना मदनी जी ने भोपाल के अपने उस भाषण में यह भी कहा कि जो मुर्दा कौमें हैं वो झुक जाती है, वो सरेंडर कर देती है, और जो जिंदा कौम है वो आवाज उठाती है, वो आंदोलन करती है। और उदाहरण दिया वंदे मातरम का, कि लोग वंदे मातरम बुलवाना चाहते हैं और मुर्दा कौमें झुक जाती है और जिंदा कौमें झुकती नहीं है। मैं मदनी साहब को याद दिलाना चाहूंगा और कहना चाहूंगा कि मदनी साहब, वंदे मातरम किसी धर्म का नहीं है। वंदे मातरम इस मिट्टी का सुगंध है, हिंदुस्तान का सुगंध है वंदे मातरम। हिंदुस्तान की वह बोली है, मां भारती की वह बोली है वंदे मातरम, जिस बोली को अपनाते हुए न जाने कितने असंख्य लोगों ने अपना बलिदान दिया ताकि आज हम स्वाधीनता के सांस को, स्वाधीनता के वातावरण में हम सांस ले सके, ताकि हम स्वतंत्र हो सके। और यह जो साल चल रहा है, यह वंदे मातरम का 150वां वर्षगांठ साल चल रहा है। अर्थात वंदे मातरम को बंकिम चंद्र चट्टोपाध्याय जी द्वारा लिखे हुए 150 वर्ष 1875 में लिखा गया था, उसे लयबद्ध 1876 में रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर जी ने किया था। 1950 में उसे नेशनल सॉन्ग के रूप में स्वीकार किया गया था। और आज जब हम वंदे मातरम को प्रतिष्ठित कर रहे हैं, उसका महिमा मंडन कर रहे हैं, आज हम जब उसे पूरे देश में गा रहे हैं, तो इसमें जिंदा कौम और मुर्दा कौम ला करके वंदे मातरम के खिलाफ भड़काना, यह मदनी साहब और उनके साथियों का विभाजनकारी नीतियों को ही दर्शाता है। मुझे तो बड़ा आश्चर्य लगा है कि मदनी साहब ने आज यह भी कहा है कि मुसलमानों के लिए जिहाद बहुत पवित्र है और जब भी उनको लगता है कहीं जुल्म हो रहा है तो वो जिहाद करना चाहिए। मुझे लगता है इस प्रकार के शब्दों से, इन शब्दों के प्रयोग से कहीं न कहीं हिंदुस्तान की जो मूल भावना है, हिंदुस्तान का जो मूल मंत्र है, सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास, उस पर कुठाराघात होता है। मदनी साहब को इस प्रकार के वचनों का प्रयोग नहीं करना चाहिए। हम घोर निंदा करते हैं इस प्रकार के उनके बयानों का। साथ ही आज अखिलेश यादव जी ने भी कोई कोर कसर नहीं छोड़ा, भ्रामक वक्तव्यों को फैलाने की कोशिश की एसआईआर को लेकर। और अखिलेश यादव जी ने कहा एसआईआर होगा तो आरक्षण समाप्त हो जाएगा, नौकरी चली जाएंगी, महंगाई बढ़ जाएगी। मुझे तो लगता है एसआईआर के विषय में अखिलेश यादव जी को ट्रेनिंग लेनी चाहिए। एसआईआर क्या है, एसआईआर किस प्रकार होता है और एसआईआर क्यों होता है, स्पेशल रिवीजन क्या होता है, समरी रिवीजन क्या होती है, इन सब विषय में पहले अखिलेश यादव जी को राजनीति से पहले उस पर शिक्षा प्राप्त करनी चाहिए। कैसे नौकरी चली जाएगी, एसआईआर होने से किसी की नौकरी कैसे चली जाएगी, एसआईआर से आरक्षण छिन जाएगा, किस विषय को किस विषय से जोड़ रहे हैं। मुझे तो आश्चर्य लगता है इस बात से, और मुझे इसमें तनिक भी संदेह नहीं है, कोई संकोच नहीं है कहने में कि चाहे वो अखिलेश यादव जी हो, चाहे वो राहुल गांधी हो, चाहे वो ममता बनर्जी हो, ये सारे लोग चुनाव लड़ने से पहले ही हार मान जाते हैं। बिहार में आपने देखा किस प्रकार तेजस्वी जी और किस प्रकार राहुल गांधी जी।
Okay, that was BJP's Sambit Patra taking on the opposition Jamaat-e-Islami leader Maulana Madni over his provocative remarks. We'll get you the latest responses on that comment after a short break. Stay with us.
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
So in the past, we would see most of the terrorists who would get arrested, they would be like the people who would be working at a very low level. But today we have seen the white collar suspect.
कश्मीर घाटी में डॉक्टर्स एक बहुत अल्टीमेट ड्रीम होता है वहां के लड़के लड़कियों का। उस बनने के बावजूद अगर आप रेडिकलाइज होकर अपने ही देशवासियों को मारने के लिए और अपने देश को तोड़ने के लिए तैयार हो सकते हैं, तो आप अंदाजा लगाइए किस तरह की रेडिकलाइजेशन हो रही है और इस फ्रंट पे हम क्या काम कर रहे हैं।
Investigators have identified Maulvi Irfan Wagha, also known as Imam Irfan, from Shopian in South Kashmir, as the mastermind who blended his dual identity, that of a preacher and healthcare worker, to influence and radicalize the educated youth.
The accusation against him is completely baseless. He had been there for 7 years, offering prayers, conducting religious classes, and teaching children at the religious center. He would come only occasionally.
We had no idea about the allegations against him, but we don't believe them. He is a good person. We don't know anything else.
By the way, viewers, I'm driving in Delhi with Delhi wala boy Aman Gupta, who is too busy waving to his fans than talking to me. Please come down to earth, Aman.
Yes, sorry, sir.
You're on my show.
I forgot.
This is not your show.
I forgot, sir. India wants to know.
This is my show.
Yes, sir.
Stop waving to your fans. Be modest.
अभी बाद में बात करेंगे।
आप पॉलिटिशियन हो। आप पॉलिटिशियन हो। आप नहीं है क्या कर रहे हो?
अरे सर, हम्बल है। आपने बोला हम्बल हो, मैं हम्बल हो रहा हूँ।
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
China and Japan are clashing verbally over Taiwan. Tensions between China and Japan have risen over Taiwan's security. Japan has signaled it may intervene in a potential conflict, viewing it as a threat to its own stability. China condemned this as meddling, issuing strong warnings and summoning diplomats. This conflict started when Japan's newly appointed Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, issued a direct warning to China during a session of the country's parliament. She stated that a conflict in the Taiwan Strait could represent a survival-threatening situation for Japan, implying that Tokyo might need to intervene militarily to protect its interests. This marked a bold escalation in Japan's stance on the Taiwan issue, signaling readiness to support Taiwan against potential Chinese action. Takaichi's comments, delivered amid rising regional tensions, prompted an immediate and sharp rebuke from Beijing, highlighting the fragile balance in East Asia and the risk of broader confrontation.
The remarks made by the Japanese leader on Taiwan constitute an interference in China's internal affairs and a serious violation of the
first year when I went to Shark Tank. I was not an investor. I didn't know how investment happens, what do investors look at, because I was busy building boat.
Correct.
I was busy building my company,
which is a good thing.
And suddenly, the Shark Tank came in, and I was supposed to be on the chair.
Yeah.
So it was very easy for me making decisions. I didn't know Excel sheets. Sir, even today, I don't care about Excel sheets.
I love that. I just love it. I think many great ideas can end with an Excel sheet, but they won't begin with one.
Sir, Excel sheet तो मुझे आज भी सबको पता है कि मेरे को ना, there is a line which I always say.
Well done, Aman. Well done. I'm so proud of you.
I don't believe in data, sir. I believe in data. You know data?
Not data.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
राजा आर प्योर मसाला, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो, मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
So in the past, we would see most of the terrorists who would get arrested, they would be like the people who would be working at a very low level. But today we have seen the white collar suspect.
कश्मीर घाटी में डॉक्टर्स एक बहुत अल्टीमेट ड्रीम होता है वहां के लड़के लड़कियों का। उस बनने के बावजूद अगर आप रेडिकलाइज होकर अपने ही देशवासियों को मारने के लिए और अपने देश को तोड़ने के लिए तैयार हो सकते हैं, तो आप अंदाजा लगाइए किस तरह की रेडिकलाइजेशन हो रही है और इस फ्रंट पे हम क्या काम कर रहे हैं।
Investigators have identified Maulvi Irfan Wagha, also known as Imam Irfan, from Shopian in South Kashmir, as the mastermind who blended his dual identity, that of a preacher and healthcare worker, to influence and radicalize the educated youth.
The accusation against him is completely baseless. He had been there for 7 years, offering prayers, conducting religious classes, and teaching children at the religious center. He would come only occasionally.
We had no idea about the allegations against him, but we don't believe them. He is a good person. We don't know anything else.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
A very good afternoon, viewers. You're watching live and breaking. I'm Raksha Mishra with you this Saturday afternoon, viewers, and we'll closely track the story of around 6,000 Airbus aircraft being grounded after an emergency software fix. We'll tell you how the Indian flights have also been delayed, how all the airlines from India have been also affected. But first, a quick check of the headlines. Amid Karnataka power tussle, DK Shivakumar Siddaramaiah holds press conference after key breakfast meet. Siddaramaiah says there are no differences between the two. Meanwhile, Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah said they will abide by High Command's decision and reiterate that Congress will return to power in 2028. Republic gets inside scoop on Karnataka power tussle. Sources tell Republic that DK Shivakumar is unwilling to compromise. Airbus grounds 6,000 flights worldwide for urgent software update after JetBlue pitched down scare. Imran Khan's sister, in an exclusive interview to Republic TV, issues warnings to Asim Munir and Shahbaz Sharif over his isolation, denied access to her brother and the rising tensions. She says any harm to Imran Khan could push Pakistan into chaos. Russian President Vladimir Putin to be on state visit to India for annual summit on the 4th and the 5th of December to hold bilaterals with Prime Minister Modi. Now, Airbus has grounded 6,000 planes across the world. Airbus grounds half of global A320 fleet. Now, this has happened because of an emergency software fix. Intense solar radiations corrupting critical flight control systems, unprecedented recall by Airbus to ensure software is fixed. Massive disruption expected to in peak travel season. Viewers, remember this is the timing. Of course, internationally also with the festivities of Christmas coming in, the New Year's coming in, holiday season coming in. Over 1,000 older jets require hardware replacements. So this is, of course, almost half of the global A320 fleet that is being affected. This is the big breaking news we have right now. In fact, we are being joined by aviation expert on ground zero. All right, we have an expert joining us on the broadcast. For more. Captain S.R. Khalid is joining us live on the broadcast. For more, Captain, thank you so much for joining us on Republic TV. So it's a massive disruption, especially around the festive seasons. Now, this is being called a software glitch, a software update that has not happened. We talk about software updates on phones and our computer systems, but when it comes to airlines, what does this really imply?
Okay, very good afternoon to all your viewers and to you too, Rakshita. It is an honor to be on this panel to educate people as to what has happened and what corrective actions are being taken worldwide. So the problem that came up was because JetBlue Airbus 320 aircraft lost height while cruising and lost height without pilot's input. So that was investigated because 15 people were injured. And so they found that the electronic flight computers, ELAC, that is elevator and aileron computers, there are two of them in Airbus 320. One of them malfunctioned. And the malfunction was towards the software glitch that their manufacturers are saying could happen because of solar radiation. And to the best of my knowledge, the software was upgraded in 2024, and it is called ELAC L104. And the upgraded one is the one that has got a problem. So the world over, the directive is to go back to the legacy software, that is L103. And that is stable and does not get impacted by the solar radiation. So the 195 aircraft of Airbus 320 of Indigo and about 40% plus fleet of Air India has got impacted because they had the new software. So many a times when your viewers or you would have seen that there is a phone upgrade software and the phone actually starts hanging thereafter. So the only way you can actually solve this is go back to the older software, and that's what is being done. Coming back to this, for your viewers, we were lucky that this glitch manifested at 35,000 feet. If it would have happened at a lower altitude, then it could be catastrophic. We are right now in Aviator 1903 Airbus 320 simulator. This is where I would like your viewers to have a look at the flight control system switches which are there on this aircraft. It is ELAC 1 is the one that controls the... okay, I will show it to you. Flight control. This is flight control system ELAC 1. This is the one that is working fine. And then there is another flight control system that is called ELAC 2. So this is the system that is not functioning okay. And if you see, if I was to even make it off, your pilot gets an indication that ELAC 2 is at fault. And this aircraft is designed in a way that it can take and fly without any problem on ELAC 1. That means we have redundancies and safety features built in. The problem that they have right now is that it is not that the ELAC system has failed, but it is giving uncommanded inputs. And that is very dangerous. That is what is being reset. So we are not going on a software upgrade. In a way, we are removing the upgrade of L104 and getting back to L103. The ELAC 2 system actually controls the aircraft pitching moment. So an uncommanded nose-down pitch, that is what JetBlue aircraft suffered. It lost 100 foot of height and it was almost out of pilot's control for 7 seconds. Now that is dangerous at low altitude, and they were lucky that it did not happen. A mishap like Ahmedabad thing, a problem that happened at low altitude, we all are aware that 3 to 4 seconds was all that aircraft needed to actually get out of that fatality. But they didn't have that. In this case, JetBlue was lucky, people were luckier that, the aircraft actually had height and they could recover. So this is, if you allow, then we can actually show it to your viewers that the aircraft in flight, how would it respond if there was an uncommanded motion. And we are on the at Hong Kong airport, and I can take the aircraft in air in just about, say, 30 seconds, and then try to show it to you as to how catastrophic it can be at a low altitude. Is that what you would want?
Yes, sir. Of course. We'd love to see that, sir.
All right. So let me immediately get into the flight mode of the aircraft and remove the fault. Here, usko pause ko hata dena. Okay. So the aircraft is on the runway, and we are now going to take off. Your viewers must understand that these aircraft are fly-by-wire aircraft in which the pilot does not do anything other than control the switches. So right now, if you see, the aircraft is rolling, and we give the input to the controls via the side stick, and that only... Okay, so once we are airborne, I would like your viewers to see how quickly the aircraft actually deviates and has a problem. Okay, so show them outside. We are going to be rotating the aircraft. This is how the pilot leaves the runway and the aircraft flies on its own. Once it is, airborne, the pilot takes the landing gear up and thereafter engages the autopilot, and the autopilot flies the aircraft for all full. Okay. So, at this height, if there was something to happen, it would be really catastrophic, especially in terms of. Aircraft at 2,000 feet, once we reach 2,000 feet, I will show it to you as to what difficulty the pilot would actually feel. Okay. So now, see, inherently the aircraft is a very safe machine and it flies on its own. There is not much of an input. Right now we are turning. I wish I have a better this. And we are now at 2,000 feet. Aircraft is flying quite nicely. And isko upar se karke dekhiye. Okay. Just see this. Suddenly the aircraft makes a maneuver like this. Can you see this? The aircraft goes into this dive. And even if the pilot wants to make an input, the aircraft does not respond because the computers have started misbehaving. Now, this can be very catastrophic. Like right now, I was able to recover it because actually the computers are not malfunctioning. But if they were to malfunction, it would have been a very difficult task for any pilot to control and get out of it because these are fly-by-wire systems. Fly-by-wire systems typically do not have the ability of physically moving the control surfaces. So that is the demonstration that I wanted your viewers to see, that pilot is moving the control by the electric switch, and if the computers misbehave, it is a very difficult thing for the pilot to actually recover out of. Pause that.
Right, sir.
Okay.
Right, sir.
So this was an happening that we saw at 2,000 feet. If the same thing was to happen just after takeoff, you can understand. Since this problem that occurred is totally uncontrollable because it is due to a glitch which they do not know how it went in, all aircraft needs to be grounded. The software needs to be reset, then revalidated, and then flown. There would be delays, but your viewers must understand and appreciate that the authority like DGCA, Air India, Indigo, and everyone has kept safety paramount, and world over, all the aircraft are being retested and recertified for this operation.
Right, sir. Really appreciate you, Captain Ehsan Khalid, for so beautifully explaining this out there and giving us that simulation or live on Republic TV. So I'm sure that all of us understood quite a lot. Thank you so much, Captain Khalid, once again.
Yeah. So my idea is to bring aviation to education to the public,
right?
And that is why we are here at our simulation center at Mall of India, Noida, where a normal non-aviator can sit in the pilot seat and fly and get to see the whole experience. So let's have more educated people with right information about flying, and they can come and experience it. Thank you very much.
Right, sir. Thank you, Captain. Viewers, that was, of course, an explanation, of course, for what has happened with the Airbus. We will now shift our focus to the other story that we're closely tracking for you from across the country. This is Bharat in 2 minutes. Nearly 300 Indian passengers, including 150 Tamilians, have been stranded at Colombo's Bandaranaike International Airport for 3 days after Cyclone Ditwa has disrupted flights to Chennai. Many allege inadequate access to food, water and basic facilities as well. Chief Minister Tamil Nadu Stalin has directed officials to coordinate with the Indian Embassy to ensure their safe return. India has also sent nearly 12 tons of relief material to cyclone-hit Sri Lanka via Indian Air Force. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and Deputy Chief Minister Shivakumar reiterated unity or attempted to display unity within the Congress after a breakfast meeting today in Bengaluru. Both leaders say they would fully follow the party high command's decisions on leadership, dismissing any confusion as media misinterpretation. The meeting at Siddaramaiah's Kaveri residence was described as productive, focusing on state priorities. The Indian Air Force carried 21 tons of relief material along with over 80 NDRF personnel and 8 tons of equipment to Colombo. Essential rations and critical supplies have also been delivered to support affected communities in the Cyclone Ditwa affected areas. In the wake of Cyclone Ditwa, India has launched Operation Sagar Bandhu to bolster relief of efforts in Lanka. Under the operation, Air Force deployed one C-130 and one IL-76 from Hindon Air Base last night. Air India started fast-tracking software and hardware updates on its Airbus A320 fleet after a global safety alert from Airbus and EASA about a potential solar radiation risk affecting flight control data. Over 40% of impacted aircraft have already been reset. The airline said there are no cancellations, although minor delays or rescheduling may occur. Ground teams are assisting passengers who are advised to check updated flight information before boarding or before taking the flight. Now, the Al-Falah University continues to be at the center of the probe by agencies into the 10/11 Delhi attack case. Several developments and revelations continue to surface in connection with the terror doctor module and also the university's founder. Watch this detailed report.
In a startling discovery, NIA officials have recovered 18 lakh rupees in cash from the wardrobe of the suspected terrorist Dr. Shaheen. The money was concealed in a simple polythene bag inside room number 22 that belonged to Shaheen. On September 25th, Shaheen purchased a Brezza car using cash. The National Investigation Agency is now trying to determine the source of large sum. During the raid, the NIA also searched Shaheen's locker in the admin block of Al-Falah University campus. Meanwhile, the founder, Jawad Ahmed Siddiqui, is also under huge scrutiny and is believed to have routed funds through a UK-registered company linked to his son, who holds a UK citizenship. The ED has opened a parallel probe into the investment of those funds, suspecting they were obtained by misleading people and laundering money through son's overseas firm. In a separate development, the Delhi blast case continues to expand. The NIA has recorded statements from 30 doctors at Al-Falah Medical College. Those questioned have described the terror doctor Omar as rude and selective about who entered his room. Investigators recovered 4 videos from Omar's phone. One shows him justifying jihad and human bombs. The other 3 are similar short clips lasting 3 to 5 minutes each. The phone is being analyzed to track down his accomplices. On the other hand, the Delhi police have issued a notice to private hospitals seeking information on doctors who graduated from Pakistan, Bangladesh, the UAE or China are now practicing in the capital. The multiple investigations into the cash stash, alleged fund routing through a university and the Delhi blast case highlight the web of financial and terror links that are now under investigation.
Now, shifting focus, viewers, to Maharashtra, where AIMIM MLA from Hyderabad, Majid Hussain, has issued open threats at a rally in Maharashtra's Washim. Now, MLA from Nampally of Hyderabad, Majid Hussain, who had come to address a rally at Bhagwanpura evening for the Washim Municipal Council elections, openly threatened the gathering, saying if the matters come to us, the streets will fall short. The MLA's provocative remarks have gone viral on social media platforms. Listen in.
जब हमारे पे आएगी ना, इंशाल्लाह गली गली कम पड़ेगी इंशाल्लाह। मेरे बुजुर्गों, है मेरे नौजवानों, मल्ले से इत्तेहाद मुस्लिमीन है, बच्चों का खेल। जब हमारे पे आएगी ना, इंशाल्लाह गली गली कम पड़ेगी इंशाल्लाह। मेरे बुजुर्गों, है मेरे नौजवानों।
Meanwhile, the BJP has hit out at AIMIM Hyderabad MLA Majid Hussain for threatening remarks. Listen in.
महाराष्ट्र के वाशिम में AIMIM विधायक माजिद हुसैन का एक बहुत ही शर्मनाक बयान हम सभी के संज्ञान में आया है। मजहब को सुरक्षा कवच बनाकर, शरीयत का बहाना लेकर AIMIM के लोग हमेशा से राजनीति करते आए हैं। इस तरह की गंदी राजनीति आपके हैदराबाद में तो चल सकती है, लेकिन महाराष्ट्र में बिल्कुल नहीं चलेगी, क्योंकि महाराष्ट्र की एकता, अखंडता, भाईचारा हमेशा से पूरे विश्व में जाना पहचाना जाता है। हमारी एकता, अखंडता, भाईचारा को यदि आप तोड़ने का प्रयास करेंगे तो इसका अंजाम बहुत ही बुरा होगा। आप अपने आकाओं के नक्शे कदम पर चलते हुए हैदराबाद में जो चाहे वो करें, लेकिन महाराष्ट्र में इस तरह की बात आप करेंगे तो आपको जवाब मिलेगा और महाराष्ट्र की जनता इस तरह के बयानों को बिल्कुल बर्दाश्त नहीं करेगी। आप हमेशा से दो समुदाय के बीच में आप फूट डालने का प्रयास करते हैं। जिस अल्पसंख्यक को यहाँ का बहुसंख्यक संरक्षित करता है, उनको आप मारने काटने की बात करते हैं, उनसे आप लोहा लेने की बात करते हैं। ये बहुत ही निंदनीय है और इस तरह के बयान की हम कड़े शब्दों में निंदा करते हैं।
ओवैसी की पार्टी एमआईएम के विधायक माजिद हुसैन ने महाराष्ट्र की वाशिम की भूमि पर आकर के ये ललकारा है कि गलियां कम पड़ जाएगी। माजिद हुसैन, इस तरीके की धमकाने की भाषा, नौजवानों को बरगलाने की भाषा, सही मायने में गलियां कम पड़ती ही होगी। ये भाषा जो गली में घूमते हैं उन्हीं जैसी है। महाराष्ट्र में आकर के, छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की भूमि में आकर के तुम ललकारते हो गलियां कम पड़ जाएगी और धमकाते हो कि शरिया को हाथ लगा के दिखाओ। माजिद हुसैन, ये देश संविधान पर चलता है, ये छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की भूमि है। यहां पर इस तरीके की धमकाने की भाषा करोगे तो पुलिस आपको कानून और संविधान का अच्छी तरीके से पाठ पढ़ाएगी। भूलना मत, यह भारतीय जनता पार्टी का शासन है।
All right, viewers. Now, a young man in Ahmedabad took his own life in a tragic incident at Al Noor Hospital of Sarkhesh, setting himself on fire after a fight with a woman he was in a relationship with. Man poured petrol on himself and ignited it with a lighter, causing chaos, vandalizing the hospital premises also. He died during the treatment.
A chaotic scene unfolded in front of Al Noor Hospital in Ahmedabad. A young man engulfed in flames, people around him shouting in panic and rushing to his aid. Some scramble for water, others use jackets and blankets to smother the fire. The flames are gone, but the agony lingers. His clothes charred, skin scorched and raw. He walks aimlessly through the streets, walking in a slow pace as if detached from his own body. No scream, no cry, just an unnerving silence. The man was immediately rushed to the hospital but succumbed to his injuries during the treatment. These horrific visuals are from Al Noor Hospital, where a fight between two lovers turned fatal. The man, whose identity is yet unknown, committed suicide by pouring petrol on himself after having a fight with his lover. The man also vandalized the hospital premises before the tragic act. The police have launched an investigation into the incident, confirming the man and the woman were known to each other. The motive behind the extreme step is still under probe.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा, मसाला।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
China and Japan are clashing verbally over Taiwan. Tensions between China and Japan have risen over Taiwan's security. Japan has signaled it may intervene in a potential conflict, viewing it as a threat to its own stability. China condemned this as meddling, issuing strong warnings and summoning diplomats. This conflict started when Japan's newly appointed Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, issued a direct warning to China during a session of the country's parliament. She stated that a conflict in the Taiwan Strait could represent a survival-threatening situation for Japan, implying that Tokyo might need to intervene militarily to protect its interests. This
I did my MBA, went around, and I joined JBL, sir. There's a story also when I told my boss, sir, मेरे पैसे बढ़ा दो, उन्होंने बढ़ाई नहीं, तो मैंने बोला market में मिलते हैं, sir.
Market में मिलते हैं. They were very aggressive, very aggressive. चलिए market.
Passionate, sir, passionate.
Yeah. By the way, Aman, I also left Times Now. I started Times Now on my own.
Yeah.
And I left in 2016. I launched the product in 2017.
Yes.
But I did not use this line. मुझे भी यूज करना चाहिए था. Market में मिलते हैं आपको. You have to say it in a particular
Yeah,
tone.
it has to be said in like a
Swag, with swag.
Yeah. Market में मिलते हैं.
हाँ?
ऐसे बढ़ा
Market
दो,
में
market में.
पैसे बढ़ाओ मगर मार्केट में
नहीं तो.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
So in the past, we would see most of the terrorists who would get arrested, they would be like the people who would be working at a very low level. But today we have seen the white collar suspect.
कश्मीर घाटी में डॉक्टर्स एक बहुत अल्टीमेट ड्रीम होता है वहां के लड़के लड़कियों का। उस बनने के बावजूद अगर आप रेडिकलाइज होकर अपने ही देशवासियों को मारने के लिए और अपने देश को तोड़ने के लिए तैयार हो सकते हैं, तो आप अंदाजा लगाइए किस तरह की रेडिकलाइजेशन हो रही है और इस फ्रंट पे हम क्या काम कर रहे हैं।
Investigators have identified Maulvi Irfan Wagha, also known as Imam Irfan, from Shopian in South Kashmir, as the mastermind who blended his dual identity, that of a preacher and healthcare worker, to influence and radicalize the educated youth.
So our next distinguished speaker brings academic rigor and intellectual depth to India's policy landscape.
Dr. Shamika Ravi, economist and member Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, has spent years studying the interplay between growth, inclusion, and governance. Her research has shaped India's approach to economic resilience, social development, and equitable opportunity.
Well, I'm sure we will be getting a lot of insights today from Ms. Shamika Ravi. I request her to please share her thoughts on Stable by Design, Bharat's policy path.
Namaskar. Good afternoon. Well, first of all, I repeat the compliments in terms of this is my first visit to the campus, and it's very modern, and as it should be. In fact, in many ways, watching Republic is pretty much like watching the pathway to Viksit Bharat 2047. Very much, the experiences that this group is going to witness over the next few decades is completely aligned with what we are aspiring for the nation as a whole. So my compliments to the Republic team, and thank you for this opportunity. Well, let me first start by, I had the great privilege to listen to Amitabh's opening lecture. I will build on that. Of course, 2014, if you look at any kind of data, there have been structural breaks from 2014. So I think first it's important to recognize that we are on a pathway to 2047, but 2014 has marked a shift. That shift is not just in terms of looking at structural breaks in one or two indicators, which is why as an economist, I term it as an epoch. And I'm going to show and talk to you about why 2014 onwards, the pathway, in terms of not just growth, real growth, but in terms of the outcomes that growth is meant to achieve, has happened across India. First of all, before 2014, if you visited Delhi, you would often hear the phrase, India has missed the manufacturing bus. It is a very common phrase that people would repeat. And for those of us who were watching and working on India's development, it would often strike as being very odd that how can a country of 1.4 billion want to make a transition and become a model of development by going from agriculture to services, by completely overlooking what is the bedrock of livelihoods and job creation. But such was the nature of policy making. And the reason I'm telling you this part of the story is what does policy making then entail? It's not just about smart policies. You also have to socialize these, because a very large segment of people advising as experts are also myopic and tend to have a very narrow vision of this massive dynamic economy. India should be viewed as 28 vibrant state economies. Okay? Labor laws, yes, there are many things we are doing at the center. Eventually, the penny drops at the state level. Data has already shown that states which have proactively tried to reform have always availed and taken advantage of big trade agreements that India enters. So when market opportunities open, who can really benefit? Not everybody. It's the states which are eventually going to do proper and committed implementation of the policies that we are trying to push from Delhi. So state level also matters a great deal. If you look at the world today, it's a very different world than it was even in 2014, right? Increased amount of protectionism. Of course, the euphemism from economic point of view, we call it industrial policy, which is a very nice, fancy sounding term, but it basically means the governments are going to spend big money to get jobs back, manufacturing back, right? And government after government in the OECD nations are in fact doing exactly that. If you look at the nature of trade protection, in fact, if you look at the top 10 economies of the world and see what has happened in the last 10 years, we are the least protectionist. We have brought in less than 2,000 trade distortionary policies. You know how many the US has brought in? Close to 10,000. You know how many China has brought in? Do you know? close to 8,000. So India is really very small if you look at just the number of protection or trying to protect certain kinds of livelihoods. But of course, the nature of those protections that these large economies are doing are in the form of non-tariff barriers, which means enormous amounts of subsidies for export promotion or industrial growth, etc. Right? So the nature of it. So when you look at the data, try to go into the details of some of this. The countries that have grown ahead of us, when many people tell us, if East Asia did it, India should also try and emulate the same. Well, India is not a small economy. That's number one. And also understand that none of these East Asian countries, whether it is Japan or South Korea, they haven't done it with this degree of freedom. And I mean maintaining sovereignty. There always has been erosion of sovereignty because technology transfer has meant that these nations have aligned themselves with large global powers. That is the nature of technology transfer. So please recognize what we are trying to do today in India is being fiercely independent, not wanting to be part of one bloc or the other. From a per capita income where we have just come out of poverty, we are a low middle income country, we are trying to do this leapfrog. We are well on our path to doing that. But of course, 7% growth cannot be normalized. We are aspiring for double digit. That is why you will see continuous reforms. That is our job, to continuously keep making things simpler, which means reducing the cost of doing business. So what has changed after 2014? If I just look at impact of growth, let's say poverty numbers, because eventually in a democracy, growth cannot be exclusive in nature. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable from a society perspective. So growth has to percolate down to household welfare, meaning quality of life of average citizens. Poverty matters a great deal. Now, different forms of poverty has existed. No, as you get more affluent, your definition of poverty also gets changed. It relaxes. You put more things into it. Initially, poverty was only linked to destitution. If you were hungry, you were poor. That was the Tendulkar poverty line, that you needed to consume certain amount of food. Then we moved to what we call the Rangarajan poverty line, which is not just food, so it's not just destitution, it is healthcare, education, conveyance, rental for urban areas. So you see the basket is getting bigger. So now we are talking moderate poverty. It's no longer extreme poverty. And if you just look at the Rangarajan poverty, what do you notice? That in India, nearly 30%, 29.5, 30% households fell below poverty line in 11-12. Do you know what that number is today? It's 3.6%. That has not happened on its own. That's number one. That this is a remarkable decline, unprecedented in human history, and definitely unprecedented from an open, democratic society. We don't know. The numbers in China on an average are very, very remarkable. But what we don't know are how things are distributed there. In India, you do. In India, you have seen state after state, rural after urban. In fact, there's a convergence of rural and urban quality of life and consumption levels. There's a great convergence happening. So poverty is falling for everyone. You want to break it up across religious groups, because there is always a great deal of interest in the Western media that this is a majoritarian country and it doesn't care for its minority, etc. The data allows you to see what is happening to the welfare and the quality of life of different demographics. So if you look at the poverty, for instance, urban poverty for Muslim households used to be very high, almost 40% 10 years back. Poverty for scheduled tribe used to be nearly 50%. All those numbers are way down. It's around 5 or 6% today. So there is great convergence happening across demographic, whether religious groups, social groups, urban, rural, cross-state. That is what growth is meant to achieve. It's meant to be inclusive. And inclusive growth, therefore, if you see past 2014, we are achieving it in terms of these simple metrics. You know, in terms of actual number of people, what is that number? 302 million people have come out of poverty in India. It's not a small achievement, it's massive. I want to also tell you another thing. When people often compare us with China, they compare the GDP. No, GDP, they are almost 5 times our size, yes. And then when you deflate it by the population, you say the per capita income, well, they are 4.5 times to 5 times as rich as India. But do you know how that GDP is distributed? Private consumption is China. In China is only 1.5 times more than private consumption in India, which means an average Indian's quality of life is just a little lower than the Chinese quality of life today. Which means the additional GDP that is getting generated is with the state and is with corporations. Please appreciate that a free democratic society that you have has meant that the GDP is being enjoyed or is part of your quality of life. It doesn't sit with corporations and the state alone. It's very important for people to understand, because most of you only compare GDP sizes. Some of you will deflate it and look at population numbers, but that does not tell you the truth. All right? In terms of quality of life, the difference is not that vast. And of course, it's largely on account of the fact that we are a democracy, which means the rules are different. We do business very differently from the way Chinese do. Sometimes I hear frustration. Too much democracy in India and things take too much time and so on and so forth. Well, please note, my singular job as an economist is to tell you that there is a trade-off. The trade-off, if you just look at what is happening in terms of your quality of life and how growth is getting distributed, that trade-off comes largely on account of the fact that we are a democratic society. There is no such a thing as a free lunch. It's very important for the youngsters to understand, right? Now, I want to talk a little bit about the whole concept around Atmanirbharta. It's not just a meaningless phrase. It's meant to tell us that there are certain strategic sectors where we do not want to be over-reliant on external forces, right? Food is the first. And for the elders in the room, they will remember just 50 years back, when we wanted certain amount of food because we were struck in a certain hardship, we were denied. But within 50 years, what has happened to food production index of India? It's almost 130, which means of the 100 units that you consume, you produce 130. India today does not have a shortage of food. We have abundance of food. Yes, the quality and nature of that food is shifting. We are all eating less of carbohydrates, including the poorest Indians. Even the poorest Indians now are eating less of carbs and they are eating more of richer, better micronutrients. So if you look at fresh fruits, more than 90% Indians are eating fresh fruits. Why do I care about this? Because it's not like food grains that the government can give. It's also not something which is available throughout the country and throughout the year, which means usually, to even the youngsters in the room, there used to be a lot of seasonality before in consumption of fruits and vegetables. Today, not anymore. Why is that? Because your back-end logistic, the supply chain, the cold storages, the infrastructure development has meant that basic food and perishable items are available throughout the country. There is no district today in India when it comes to food. You would term it as a remote district. Food is available to Indians. So food security is something we can say we have achieved, right? And we are well on our path. Second, energy security. This helps you also appreciate why we took the stance that we do. We continue to take stance that we do. Because amongst the biggest economies in the world, we are the most exposed to imports as far as energy is concerned. 33% of our energy consumed is imported. That's too high. right? The Americans have brought it down after discovery of shale. Now they are in single digits. The Chinese, too, have now stabilized it around 13-14%. We are around 33%, which means we depend a great deal on external markets for energy needs. Please appreciate this is singularly driving our entire focus towards renewables, why we need to continue to push for renewables. And second, we are not going to grow the way the past OECD markets have grown. That would be terribly irresponsible. It's extremely polluting. It's just not sustainable. So yes, we do hear a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to policy prescriptions, but the reality is that we have to make a commitment, and we have. India is the poorest country amongst the G20. But if you look at the commitments in terms of climate that we have made, and the energy transition we have made, no other nation before us has made these kind of responsible commitments and achieved them. We continue to achieve them. So the whole push for life, lifestyle for environment, etc., is really meant to tell you that India's growth is not going to mimic the growth of OECD nations before us. We are going to have our own path because we do have our own objectives. That takes me to the final issue that I'm extremely keen to discuss, but more importantly, we have to work towards improving, is this demographic dividend part of the story. Nations are built by people, not just by capital. And people will mean we need healthy, skilled, educated population. Yes, we are young. That window is there and it's open, and we're trying our best to take complete advantage of that. But the reality is that India's fertility rate has been crashing in unprecedented ways. Today, our fertility rate is well below replacement. In fact, it's below 2. It's around 1.97. This is too fast for a nation which has to grow. We need a large, capable, working population for the next several decades. So for the working population to shrink relative to an elderly population, we have 120 million people above the age of 60. So yes, we are a young nation, but we also have a rapidly increasing elderly share. So to improve and get to a high quality of life, we will need a large working age population. But with this declining fertility and falling rather rapidly, what are the policy prescriptions? Do you know that urban India has had below replacement fertility rate for the last 25 years? So while many people have started talking about fertility today, the reality is, and this is the dynamism of Indian economy, that unless you look at the data and you look at it in granular way, you don't really know what's happening. Most people just think they know India. You need to look at the data in highly granular way. So if urban India, the young women do not want to have children, that is a crisis. And you know what then pushes us further? That during the pandemic, a rather dismal statistics emerged from the rich G7 nations. That this is the first time in human history that such a large number of elderly population have died alone without a family member around. That shakes you up because it tells you that's not the kind of growth we want. Eventually, progress and development has to be defined in a way that we should aspire for. And that's not going to be, therefore, our growth model. China today, the biggest fear they have is they have already grown old before becoming rich. There is no clamor for migration into China, unlike Europe. As Amitabh mentioned, Japan is already quite old. In fact, in Japan today, they are trying to measure labor and age. Age for you and me is a very simple variable. It tells you how old you are. So it's a chronological measure. Not in Japan. In Japan, the conversations are moving to, yes, there is a chronological age, which means I'm 50 years old. But there is a biological age, which means I'm as productive as a 40-year-old. You see, the creativity in terms of thinking and narratives and trying to overcome an almost certain fate on account of not being sensitive to what is happening to fertility is very, very critical for any country. So what does that tell you, therefore? First, our policies have to become, and I must assure you, they are becoming more family-friendly. Because our girls are getting more, I see more women here. The girls are getting more educated than ever. They're working very hard. They outdo the boys not just in 10th and 12th. They outdo them in most undergrad courses as well. But after all that, when it's time to get into the labor market, what happens? You're a traditional society. We still want children. But your traditional family structure doesn't exist anymore. So when traditional family structures are breaking down because you're urbanizing at a pace unprecedented, you're also nuclearizing at a stage, a rate which is unprecedented. So that joint family where grandparents could take care of children and hence young women could go out and work, that luxury, unfortunately, doesn't exist. So if that happens and you want the young women to fulfill their aspiration, there is a role for policy. The government has to step in ways that it can. Therefore, you are seeing a push for all kinds of benefits. In fact, we are making a case for why families have to file taxes as a joint unit. There have to be benefits to taking care of elderly and the young. Children are extremely labor-intensive, but so are elders. Do you know an average working-age woman in India spends 4 hours every day taking care of someone? So now, as an economist, what's the value that they are bringing to the GDP? That's a very easy fix for me to do. I have estimated, and that number is 17%. Yes, it's very large. But in society, what does it mean? That this large amount of value which these women are creating on account of care is in the household. And because it is inside the household, there's no money transacted, we discount it. We don't just discount it in the GDP, we discount it in society. You don't value your women unless they go out and earn a living. But that is not how growth was meant to be even 100 years back. These are very large, critical issues which are staring at us. And you will continue to see that policy evolution is going to address these kind of structural issues. In migration, across our states is going to take care of a lot of these problems. You will continue to see great amount of migration from eastern part of the country to the western part, which is far more industrialized and growing in ways that services, etc. is there. But that will still not solve the problem overall of care and what family-friendly policies ought to be, right? Very brief, I want to also spend a little bit of time making you appreciate that what has happened in the rural areas of India is nothing short of revolutionary since 2014. Many of you might have heard about declining labor force participation of women. How many of you know that in the last 8 years, rural India has witnessed a 70% increase in female labor force participation? It's massive. It has largely happened on the back of policy push. Whether it's your drone Didi, Lakpati Didi, self-help groups, there are a string of schemes. Of course, on the back of the fact that almost all amenities are keeping women at the heart of the family. So whether it is the housing scheme, Awas Yojana, 70% titles, ownership is in the names of women. Because women accessing or having access to ownership of asset is remarkable, not just for them, but for the family as a whole. It directly leads to better health and education outcome for the children. So these are long-term strategic issues that we are solving by basically targeting the right people within the family, because it's for the betterment of the society as a whole. One last, my favorite story on narratives and why I'm here to lend support to a media house. You know, narrative economics, and I encourage you to read the book by Robert Schiller, a Nobel awardee. Narrative economics used to be within the confines of corporate finance. That, companies used to float stories about their rivals, or they would float stories about themselves to impact the stock price. Today, narrative economics is not within the limits or confines of corporate finance. Today, it's the lived reality of geoeconomics and geopolitics. So when we looked at Google data, GDEL data, and we started to look at hundreds of millions of data points from across the world, and we started to see how does global media cover different countries. It's remarkable. The democracies of the world continue to struggle. There is only one country in this world which now gets positive media coverage across global media. And I'm not talking about Chinese media alone. We are talking about global media. So why is it that the tone of media in New Zealand and Ecuador, in India, why do they cover China so positively? It's not an organic phenomenon. It's a campaign. In fact, the data, and this is the power of data, and I also encourage to the leadership team at Republic, invest in data. People are important. They are the most important. But data by itself, while people tell you it's the new oil, crude oil is not very meaningful. It's not very useful. You have to process it, which means you really need to invest in not just data, but people who can analyze that data and show you. And data is so beautiful, it can tell you what is the origin of these positive stories on China, what is the origin of most negative news on India. You know the origin of each of those. And you can see that these are campaigns being run. There's a lot of money going into it. So to get to what the truth is, we can do all the hard work sitting in Delhi within the government. And people, in terms of the way they vote, etc., they're telling you they are happy with the situation, at least till they have better options, which they don't seem to have. But what is the role of the media then? The role of the media is to tell us as factually correct information as possible. But factually correct today doesn't mean you can just pick up a newspaper and whatever you read can be taken at face value. That the data is very compellingly telling us that there are narrative campaigns that we are up against. You therefore become an ally in this nation-building exercise. You are part of Viksit Bharat 2047. It's your job, it's your duty to then inform the citizens as factually correct information as possible. So again, we are here to, within the government, we do a lot of data work. Most of it is public. I encourage the younger team here, because the data is online, it's publicly available. I encourage you to replicate some of them. Read them, read the research, right? Because there is copious amount of research and new evidence coming out. It needs to find its way into media for the wider public to then understand and know about it. Because government is traditionally not very good with communication. Bureaucrats in particular, Amitabh is an outlier. Okay, most bureaucrats are not trained in communication. So media therefore becomes extremely important to look at the new MOSPI data, look at all these reports we are writing. Everything is open source and can be replicated. The codes are available. That's how transparent a lot of the research is. So I encourage you, I support you in propagating and talking about all these revolutionary changes that have shaped India since 2047. Thank you very much. Namaskar and good luck.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा राजा और मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार।
विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला। प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार, क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला।
China and Japan are clashing verbally over Taiwan. Tensions between China and Japan have risen over Taiwan's security. Japan has signaled it may intervene in a potential conflict, viewing it as a threat to its own stability. China condemned this as meddling, issuing strong warnings and summoning diplomats. This conflict started when Japan's newly appointed Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, issued a direct warning to China during a session of the country's parliament. She stated that a conflict in the Taiwan Strait could represent a survival-threatening situation for Japan, implying that Tokyo might need to intervene militarily to protect its interests. This marked a bold escalation in Japan's stance on the Taiwan issue, signaling readiness to support Taiwan against potential Chinese action. Takaichi's comments, delivered amid rising regional tensions, prompted an immediate and sharp rebuke from Beijing, highlighting the fragile balance in East Asia and the risk of broader confrontation.
The remarks made by the Japanese leader on Taiwan constitute an interference in China's internal affairs and a serious violation of the One China principle and the basic norms governing international relations. Such
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Amid Karnataka power tussle, DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah hold press conference after key breakfast meeting. Siddaramaiah says there is no difference between them. DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah say they will abide by High Command's decision and reiterated that the Congress party will return to power in Karnataka in 2028. Public gets inside scoop on Karnataka power tussle. Sources suggest that DK Shivakumar is unwilling to compromise. Airbus grounds 6,000 flights worldwide for urgent software update after JetBlue pitch down scare. Imran Khan's sister Noreen Niazi issues sharp warning over his isolation, denied access and rising tensions, says any harm to him could push Pakistan into chaos. Russian President Vladimir Putin to be on state visit to India for annual summit on the 4th and 5th of December to hold bilateral with Prime Minister Modi. Okay, we start with this edition with some breaking news coming in. These are fresh visuals that are coming in from the state of West Bengal, where leader of opposition Shubhendu Adhikari is holding a rally with his party workers in Kuch Bihar district of North Bengal. What happened earlier, viewers, is that there was a showdown between Shubhendu Adhikari and the Mamata Banerjee police over allegations of the BJP not adhering to instructions or permission given to conduct the rally. Let's go across to my colleague Pinky, who joins me live from on ground. पिंकी, हमें बताइए क्या हो रहा है और क्या हुआ था इसके पहले पुलिस और शुभेंदु अधिकारी के बीच में, बिकॉज वी अंडरस्टैंड कि कुछ क्लैशेस हुए इसके पहले और पुलिस ने ये एलिगेशन लगाया कि परमिशन नहीं दी गई थी शुभेंदु को रैली के लिए।
देखिए, आपको बता दो कि ये रैली शुरू होने से पहले पुलिस की तरफ से एडिशनल एसपी आए और जो ट्रक में जो मंच तैयार किया जा रहा था उसको रोका गया। शुभेंदु अधिकारी आने से पहले ये हुआ था और शुभेंदु अधिकारी उसी लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन जो है उसी ट्रक में जाके उसी मंच में जाके आज भाषण देंगे। कुछ बिहार में चैंगरा बंधा में भाषण देंगे और आप देख सकते हैं शुभेंदु अधिकारी अभी चल रहे हैं और उनको स्वागत करने के लिए आसपास का जो महिलाएं हैं, आसपास का जो कर्मी है, सपोर्टर्स है, वो लोग भी आ गए हैं। शुभेंदु अधिकारी हम लोगों के साथ जुड़ गए हैं। हम लोग शुभेंदु अधिकारी के पास जाएंगे। शुभेंदु का क्या कुछ देख रहे हैं, क्योंकि लाइव है हम लोगों और ये जो क्रेज है क्यों, मगर इसके पहले हमने देखा कि पुलिस आया था, पुलिस आके आपका जो मंच है वो खोल
पहले तो परमिशन नहीं दिया यहाँ का बीजेपी जिला अध्यक्ष को श्यामल रॉय को, यहाँ जो जलपाईगुड़ी सर्किट बेंच है हाई कोर्ट का, वहाँ जाना पड़ा। काल कोर्ट में गवर्नमेंट स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का लॉयर पूरा अपोज किया। बीजेपी के ये लोग कोई मिছিল मीटिंग कार्यक्रम करने नहीं देगा। ये बीजेपी को डरता है और जनता जनार्दन बीजेपी का साथ, मोदी जी का साथ है। वो हाईकोर्ट ने इजाजत दे दिया। उसका बाद आज सुबह से यहाँ ये प्रोग्राम को बंद करने के लिए सीधा सबको उतार दिया। ममता बनर्जी आईपीएस ऑफिसर को भी उतारा, लेकिन हाईकोर्ट का इजाजत और इतना जनता की जनसौलाभ, ये जनता जनार्दन आज साबित कर दिया। ये बंगाल में परिवर्तन का लहर, जय श्री राम का गूंज और माता काली का जय ध्वनि का साथ बंगाल में इस बार विकासवादी, राष्ट्रवादी, सुशासन, सुरक्षा देने वाला एक सरकार बनने जा रही है। एक असेंबली में ही देख लीजिए आप किस तरीके से परिवर्तन आनते ही हमें
एक इंटरेस्टिंग
बांग्लादेश से पाठाते हमें।
इंटरेस्टिंग सी चीज हुआ। आपके साथ एक महिला मुलाकात करने आए थे, वो फूल देने आए थे, वो तृणमूल सपोर्टर थे, वो खुद बोल रहे सपोर्टर हूँ मगर सपोर्टर है। वो बता रहे हैं कि
तृणमूल का कोई सपोर्टर नहीं है।
नहीं, वो आके बता रहे हैं कि मैं तृणमूल का सपोर्टर हूँ मगर शुभेंदु अधिकारी से मुलाकात करने आई थी, मैं उन्हें देखने आई थी।
ये विश्वास हम लोग नेता प्रतिपक्ष के नाते पिछले 5 साल पूरा के पूरा मेहनत और संघर्ष किया। असेंबली का अंदर, असेंबली का बाहर, हर मुद्दे में बीजेपी लड़ाई किया। इसलिए जनता आप समझ गया ये बीजेपी को ही लाना चाहिए। बंगाल में कांग्रेस की स्टेट रिजेक्टेड, सीपीएम का 34 साल का राजत्व देख लिया, टीएमसी का 15 साल देख लिया, बीजेपी का गवर्नमेंट नहीं देखा। इसलिए जितना भी अगल बगल में सरकार है, आसाम से लेकर बिहार से लेकर यहाँ का जितना भी नॉर्थ बंगाल से सटा हुआ सरकार है, आसाम बिहार, इस तरीके से डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है, लोग देख रहा है।
बॉर्डर है। एसआईआर के सिचुएशन में हकीमपुर चेकपोस्ट से हमने विजुअल्स देखे कैसे बहुत सारे लोग बांग्लादेशी जो इलीगली इंडिया में रह रहे थे वो लोग भाग रहे हैं और सिचुएशन ये है कि बहुत सारे चेकपोस्ट ऐसे हैं जहां से
All right, those were the live visuals that are coming in from Cooch Behar in North Bengal, where the BJP is conducting a rally after the High Court gave nod to Leader of Opposition शुवेंदु अधिकारी seeking permission to conduct a rally. The party has now claimed that the Bengal police earlier obstructed them from carrying out their democratic right of holding a rally, campaigning ahead of the assembly elections. And शुवेंदु Adhikari over there, ladies and gentlemen, has repeatedly claimed that Mamata Banerjee is obstructing the work of the opposition, the principal opposition party in West Bengal. and not allowing party workers to function in the rural areas, claiming complete collapse of law and order in the state. Right, from West Bengal to the national capital, ladies and gentlemen, 19 days on since the 10/11 Delhi blast, the Al-Falah University continues to be at the center of the probe by agencies. Several developments and revelations have surfaced regarding the terror doctors, their network, the university's founder, who is now under the radar of the National Investigation Agency.
In a startling discovery, NIA officials have recovered 18 lakh rupees in cash from the wardrobe of the suspected terrorist Dr. Shaheen. The money was concealed in a simple polythene bag inside room number 22 that belonged to Shaheen. On September 25th, Shaheen purchased a Brezza car using cash. The National Investigation Agency is now trying to determine the source of large sum. During the raid, the NIA also searched Shaheen's locker in the admin block of Al-Falah University campus. Meanwhile, the founder, Jawad Ahmed Siddiqui, is also under huge scrutiny and is believed to have routed funds through a UK-registered company linked to his son, who holds a UK citizenship. The ED has opened a parallel probe into the investment of those funds, suspecting they were obtained by misleading people and laundering money through son's overseas firm. In a separate development, the Delhi blast case continues to expand. The NIA has recorded statements from 30 doctors at Al-Falah Medical College. Those questioned have described the terror Dr. Omar as rude and selective about who entered his room. Investigators recovered 4 videos from Omar's phone. One shows him justifying jihad and human bombs. The other 3 are similar short clips lasting 3 to 5 minutes each. The phone is being analyzed to track down his accomplices. On the other hand, the Delhi police have issued a notice to private hospitals seeking information on doctors who graduated from Pakistan, Bangladesh, the UAE or China are now practicing in the capital. The multiple investigations into the cash stash, alleged fund routing through a university and the Delhi blast case highlight the web of financial and terror links that are now under investigation.
Bharat 1 Minute, brought to you by Canara Bank. Together we can.
And here's a quick check of everything else that is making news. DMK MPs met at the party headquarters under the leadership of Chief Minister and DMK President MK Stalin. The meeting was convened to review the work reports submitted by the MPs. Issues related to the SIR along with the overall performance of the MPs will also be discussed during the meet. 12 Bangladeshi nationals and 1 Indian citizen were arrested by Islampur police after a raid in Char Gopalpur village under Hurshi Gram Panchayat. The arrests were based on information from a confidential source indicating that foreign nationals were being sheltered in the area without documentation. The Rouse Avenue Court in the national capital adjourned the passing of its order on whether to take cognizance of the Enforcement Directorate's charge sheet in the National Herald money laundering case. The court will now pronounce its order on 16th of December. Viewers, what is exactly happening in Karnataka? Republic Kannada and our top focus remains on the key breakfast meeting that took place between Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar and Chief Minister Siddaramaiah at the latter's residence early this morning amid the ongoing tussle for the chief ministerial post in the state. Republic has the inside scoop over the meeting, where sources have now told us that D.K. Shivakumar is unwilling to compromise and Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has taken a hard line over the issue. This even as both sides claim that all is well within the party. This is something that they said on record post the breakfast meeting in a press conference.
Would you like to give them a message today?
I don't want whatever message we have to give. We have given myself and the Honorable Chief Minister, both of us have given to the entire congressmen in this country, and whoever want to look at it, we abide by it, we stand by it. We are committed on it.
So yesterday you said that there are many issues of the state to be discussed. You will be going to Delhi.
Of course. Myself, CM will discuss. We have to make a strategy whether how many of us has to go. But I have a lot of issues on it, especially on irrigation. and urban development. I will have to go. I'll have to fix the time with the central ministers also. All of a sudden I can't go. I have to discuss with the central ministers. We wanted to call all-party meeting, myself Chief Minister, because on this maize issue, we want to discuss, we want to take a all-party delegation on this sugar cane and maize and some other issues connected to the state. And by God with the blessings of the Almighty, the court has given us an opportunity. Whatever High Command tells, you will obey it. Sir, at least, you understood it or not? This is my reply to your question.
Sir, status quo till assembly is over.
See, we go together. There are no differences between me and D.K. Shivkumar. We face the election, assembly. We have worked out a strategy how to face the BJP and JDS.
On to news from Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen. Imran Khan's sister Alima has filed a contempt of court petition in the Islamabad High Court against the Adiala jail superintendent and others for not being allowed to meet Pakistan's jailed former Prime Minister and his brother Imran Khan. Alima filed the petition in the presence of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister Sohail Afridi and other leaders of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Republic TV has gotten more exclusive responses from Imran's sister, wherein now she has essentially gone on to directly make an allegation against the Chief Justice of the court, saying that he cannot allow this kind of anarchy to rule the state. Listen in.
Meet him. The party is worried, they want to meet him. But I said that the reason I feel he's safe, only because they would not dare touch a hair on his head. Because they know exactly what's going to happen to them if they do that. The anger in Pakistan is building up, and you don't want anarchy. When they say, people asking... So
you do currently feel that he is safe?
Only because I feel they wouldn't dare do it. That's the only reason my feeling is. That they know what's going to happen. They know what's going to happen if they dare do that. This Noon League who's saying that, maybe he's already gone. If they dare talk like that, they're not going to be safe in this country. And there's no plane that they can take and fly away anywhere and expect themselves to be safe if they dare touch him. So that's why I say they dare not do it. That's the only reason. Because we don't have proof. We have no information, nothing from jail. Who do we talk to? That's why we come to a judge. And if there's no emergency, he doesn't feel it's urgent enough, that he doesn't want to meet any of us. All we said is, he gets up from court and leaves. So where do we go? We don't know where to go. I think now we keep filing petitions. There are hundreds of petitions that we are filing in front of this judge, in front of Supreme Court also. Contempt of court. We are filing for contempt of court. Normally, in a year earlier or 2 years earlier, we used to see if this was a contempt of court, the judge would be so upset, the police would be worried that they had to obey the orders of the judges, right?
Yes.
Police was worried, officers in the government were worried, the executive was worried, because the judge would hold them in front of them and say, you will not, if you uttered a word against any decision, the judge would call you in for a contempt of court. Right now, the policeman says, what court orders? And throws it out. He says, I don't believe in court orders. Full bench court orders, police has no value for it. And he's not protecting the chair, the responsibility he has as Chief Justice. It's not him personally, it's the chair of the Chief Justice, which is justice for the people of Pakistan. And he cannot allow this sort of anarchy to brew within the country. It's his job, it's his duty to protect the rule of law, to uphold it. And that's, we are worried, because then it'll be, you're heading towards anarchic situation. It's anarchic. If people take law into their own hands, it's very dangerous for Pakistan. And that should never be, that should not happen. But what do you do next? Imran Khan not being allowed to meet.
But by saying that, do you not feel like you're also tacitly suggesting something to people? Because you're saying...
I'm telling you, I'm also going to be. They'd better worry about me if they touch my brother. I'll be the first one standing in line. That's what the emotions are. How dare you try to suggest even that you want to kill him in jail? Like that's murder. So, and
but
where
I don't
do
think
I
anyone
go?
is suggesting that though, are they, at the moment? I mean, I know that they're sort of...
they are.
Well, no, I know that
Tacitly,
there
they're
are
trying to say, I think he's gone, and why would they say this?
But who's saying that? Apart from
The
media that's
political
coming
people.
from India?
No, the political. The political member of the government. Political member said that, right? In assembly.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
All right, viewers, that's it on this edition of Live and Breaking. But do stay on with us, because on the other side, we'll get you that response, that exclusive response of Noreen Niazi on Republic TV, and do watch her warning to Asim Munir. Stay with us.
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी, एवरीडे।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग स्टिक भी बन सकती है।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप। थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, राजा और प्योर मसाला।
So in the past, we would see most of the terrorists who would get arrested, they would be like the people who would be working at a very low level. But today we have seen the white collar suspect.
कश्मीर घाटी में डॉक्टर्स एक बहुत अल्टीमेट ड्रीम होता है वहां के लड़के लड़कियों का। उस बनने के बावजूद अगर आप रेडिकलाइज होकर अपने ही देशवासियों को मारने के लिए और अपने देश को तोड़ने के लिए तैयार हो सकते हैं, तो आप अंदाजा लगाइए किस तरह की रेडिकलाइजेशन हो रही है और इस फ्रंट पे हम क्या काम कर रहे हैं।
Investigators have identified Maulvi Irfan Wagha, also known as Imam Irfan, from Shopian in South Kashmir, as the mastermind who blended his dual identity, that of a preacher and healthcare worker, to influence and radicalize the educated youth.
The accusation against him is completely baseless. He had been there for 7 years, offering prayers, conducting religious classes, and teaching children at the religious center. He would come only occasionally.
We had no idea about the allegations against him, but we don't believe them. He is a good person. We don't know anything else.
I actually can't stop. The problem is I asked ChatGPT once. No. ChatGPT says, what do rich people do? ठीक है
but they ask ChatGPT
अब रिच पीपल क्या करते हैं? What do rich people do? तो उसने बोला 2-3 चीजें करते हैं. They said one is you start serving humanity, which is what a Bill Gates Foundation would do, or an Aziz Premji. Second is do something which humanity has never done, which is like probably a colonizing Mars, which probably an Elon Musk might be doing. And there are third type of people who are obsessed with challenges, obsessed with growth, obsessed with opportunities, obsessed with doing something different. And that I think is me. I think I am obsessed with growth, challenges, competition. And that drives me. Super. Life will go on. I will never retire. I don't think I will ever retire.
I am also never going to retire.
Yeah.
I think we'll continue.
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
China and Japan are clashing verbally over Taiwan. Tensions between China and Japan have risen over Taiwan's security. Japan has signaled it may intervene in a potential conflict, viewing it as a threat to its own stability. China condemned this as meddling, issuing strong warnings and summoning diplomats. This conflict started when Japan's newly appointed Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, issued a direct warning to China during a session of the country's parliament. She stated that a conflict in the Taiwan Strait could represent a survival-threatening situation for Japan, implying that Tokyo might need to intervene militarily to protect its interests. This marked a bold escalation in Japan's stance on the Taiwan issue, signaling readiness to support Taiwan against potential Chinese action. Takaichi's comments, delivered amid rising regional tensions, prompted an immediate and sharp rebuke from Beijing, highlighting the fragile balance in East Asia and the risk of broader confrontation.
The remarks made by the Japanese leader on Taiwan constitute an interference in China's internal affairs and a serious violation of the One China principle and the basic norms governing international relations. Such words are extremely irresponsible and dangerous in nature and have caused very negative impact.
Taiwan is an island of 23 million people, situated about 100 miles off China's southeast coast. China regards it as a breakaway province under the One China principle, insisting that other countries acknowledge this and avoid treating Taiwan as a sovereign state. Taiwan, however, maintains its own government, conducts elections, and runs an independent economy, a setup rooted in 1949 when China's civil war concluded with the defeated nationalist forces retreating to the island while the communists consolidated power on the mainland. This division has persisted without full-scale war, but mutual distrust has grown. China has intensified its military presence around Taiwan in recent years, viewing reunification as a national goal. For instance, in October this year, H-6K bombers from the People's Liberation Army Air Force conducted flights over the island, while June exercises involved over 70 aircraft, including J-16 fighters and unmanned drones, crossing the median line of the Taiwan Strait. Naval operations have featured Type 052D destroyers and Type 054A frigates patrolling the waters. Beijing frames these as defensive drills to deter independence moves.
Japan claims to be a peace-loving nation, yet the Takaichi administration has made vague and ambiguous remarks. China is seriously concerned about Japan.
India's creative industries, how they are becoming a new frontier of growth.
Absolutely, Rakshita. Mr. Raja Navani, Chairman and Managing Director of Jetline Group of Companies, has been a pioneer in digital entertainment, gaming, empowering India's youth economy.
And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Raj Navani.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here with all of you. And it's, I think when you think of the Republic India Economic Summit, you say where, aspirations of India meet bold ideas. I think this is the place where it's all happening. And today, earlier, when Arnab walked me around this campus and showed me what has been created here, I must compliment both Arnab and Republic for what has been created. It's something truly what India can create, both for India and from India for the world. And I think when you see that, and you see the young people, who were walking around here, it brings about that hope and excitement that we all talk about when we think of India. We always say that, we are the world's youngest country by age, but I think what is most important is how are we going to use that youthful power that we have to be able to shape the future, not only of our country, but of the world at large. And I think, therefore, there is that one India moment. When you think of it, we are the world's fastest growing economy today. We have a youth demography that none others have. And I think it was with the same, expectation that when we were thinking about what would the next 30 years of our group's business be like, we're an 80-year-old business family, I thought that the best way to be able to help shape that was to understand first this Gen Z, the young generation that is not only going to be, creating this India, but also going to be the biggest consumers in shaping the future of this India. This is the generation that, will reject a job because you're not allowed hoodies, at work. This is the generation that when we try and understand them or they say, you don't get us. It's a digital always generation. It is an immersive generation. It is a generation, that is very hard for someone to be able to point a finger at and say, this is what defines it, right? Everyone's trying to figure that out. And so we set upon this journey to say, we are going to build trust with this generation. We are going to actually play a role in the daily digital life of this generation. And through that platform and that trust, really be able to address both their concerns and their needs of the future. And it was, therefore, by chance that the entire, media entertainment piece is what we hit upon, because strategically when we were figuring out, we said the first area that the opportunity we could see was one where, there was a particular way in which this generation was engaging both with content, not only as consumers of content, but also creators of content. And I think that's the big shift and the big opportunity that we saw, about a decade ago. And over these years, we have actually built this entire ecosystem, whether it comes to, finding competitive gamers in esports, creating simulated experiences through video gaming, which is also extending to, education and a lot other areas of artificial kind of not only bringing artificial intelligence, but, using artificial intelligence to drive immersive experiences in augmented, mixed, and virtual reality. And I think that entire journey and experience is what, shaped a large part of what we have been doing over the last decade. And then this entire aspect of the creator economy. And I think for India, if we really look at what's going to drive the future, to me, it sits in these three buckets, right? There is innovation, there is creativity, and then there is entrepreneurship. So if I look at the room here and I see a lot of young faces here, and I say, how many of you want to actually be job creators, and not just job seekers? I'm sure I'm going to see a lot of hands, because everybody here wants to be able to create an opportunity for a livelihood that not only concerns themselves, but gives them the freedom, the flexibility, and today with technology, the ability to actually create very successful micro-entrepreneurship or careers that never existed before. So not only are you going to be able to, create enterprises of the future that are going to be in India, from India, for the world, but, actually ones that are going to be massively innovative. And in an era of technology, one very interesting facet that always comes out and everyone talks about it is what is it that's going to stay and what's it that's going to go away? So the creativity of a person, of a human being, is probably what's going to stay. So if you see all of human imagination, and I think Bharat and India has driven a large part of that, has come from some source of creativity that exists in one human being. And we see examples of that today. One maverick in the US has created not only satellite ecosystems, new cars, this. One human being can use and unleash creativity to such an extent that you can actually shape what the world will look like. And the ability to therefore be able to tap into that creative energy, that creative source, is something that I think is going to be a big shift that I believe we will have to see as individuals, as we look at the future, not only of India, but of the world. And I truly believe that India has the potential to bring that about. I see many examples. We work with the largest creator ecosystem in India, and whether it's in regional music, whether it is in many other areas. And what we find is the expertise of that creator that gets unlocked really results in the ability to influence others to make decisions. And I think brands and others who want to access that really have to tap into exactly that same source to be able to do it. So I think there's a huge shift that is happening when you look at what that creativity is unlocking, both for people, individuals, brands, the ecosystem, the country. And, with technology, we have been able to see the power of being able to take affordable solutions and many other things into the hands of people. And therein lies the entire aspect of innovation. So for a country like India, if we want to move from a developing country to the, developed and Viksit Bharat of 2047, and we want to do it through an innovation journey, there will be some non-negotiables of that journey. Because never in the history of mankind has a democratically elected country of 1.4 billion people moved from being a developing to a developed country. And when we think of what are those non-negotiables, really we can tap into many aspects, but I think key things that will stand out is how do we include everybody into that process. Again, the role of technology and creativity to make that happen. How do we create solutions that are affordable and consumable by all? And the good part about the entire creator economy is that not only are the creators, the producers of whether it's content or solutions and actually deriving livelihoods from that, or employees of new age companies or even traditional companies, but they are also going to be the consumers. So it's a very strong 360-degree kind of engagement with them that will help shape enterprises, help shape countries, governments, and a collaborative approach to making that happen, to me, is what will help create that Viksit Bharat that we all talk about, the ones that we dream about, the ones that we imagine, and ones that we can continue to reimagine in the future. So to me, when I think of the future of India and I think of what is it that is going to be, taking India there, I think this entire generation of Gen Zs, the next generation of Gen Alphas, again, who have a very different behavioral pattern compared to Gen Zs, and the Gen Betas that are being born in 2025 are going to shape this India very differently. The Gen Alpha plays that we have today, we see the concerns that, 14 and 15-year-olds have today for causes that are of global issues. And you will not imagine, many of you will have examples at your own homes and in own companies and in your own areas, but you will be able to understand and appreciate that, because that will be a part of their DNA as they continue to grow. And with Gen Beta kids, we are hoping that India as a country today can create a generation that will not only shape that future, but will also inherit it, and therefore create that India which we all, would like to see and imagine growing into the future. For the Gen Beta, we have a very interesting 1,000-day program that starts from the time when someone is pregnant to the first 1,000 days of a child, right? The ability, and today science is showing how it can actually cross-pollinate and create very, very unique neural networks that will help shape that generation. So with the advancement of technology, we are going to see two things happen. There's going to be the appreciation for diversity and creativity, but also the convergence of many common new things that we find that will shape society. And I think, when we talk of India strengthening its economic power, strengthening its economic capacity, both in India and in the context of the world. These are the different aspects that we will, have to understand, appreciate, and collaboratively work to unlock in the near future. I know they wanted me to open this up and make this interactive with each one of you or whoever would like to have a discussion. So we'll move into that section of this conversation and maybe have someone, who wants to ask a question, really raise that right now. Thank you.
So you were talking about Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, Gen Z. We, as millennials, we are young managers. There is a Gen Z, which is after the advent of AI and technology, the Gen Z has changed completely. That's definitely a generation gap. But, how do you think, as you mentioned, for Gen Beta, you already have a program. And Gen Beta started in 2025, and you already have a program which you're saying which is 1,000 days. So how do you see the advent of this technology changing the mindset of these people, which is very difficult to train humanly? To be very honest, there's a huge gap between the technology, there's a huge gap between their mindsets, there's a huge gap everywhere. So do you think that technology can fill that gap? Over to you. Thank you.
When you talk of technologies, we can talk of multiple technologies that, impact you and affect you in various ways. But the world, and today we are all talking of artificial intelligence, and I think you referred, to that. So today at least our strong belief is that each of these generations, right, whether it is the millennials or the Gen X, and, the duration of that generation is not equidistant to 15 years as everyone is talking, because generations are now compressing a lot faster. But that also means that there is an evolutionary process of the human being that is happening at a much different pace, and we see that, everywhere. Now that part is going to continue, right? I think what is in control, especially when it comes to India or enterprises that want to serve India, for the future, is the environment that you're able to create, for that generation. And I think when we look at ourselves as ecosystem creators for a particular generation. And what Gen Zs particularly we found different is that their interests are in communities, right? So there is a community that is interested, say, for example, in mindfulness, right? Or a community that is interested in a particular video game, or a community that is interested in following one particular young creator, right? And for us, each of those communities, if they're about 100 million people, right, or at least grow to that, is how we enter into those communities. And we either create the IPs or the reasons for which those communities exist, or then we address those communities and serve their needs, right? So it's not like one large 2 billion people community, which was, I think, of the internet generation. So the AI generation is probably going to reduce that even further, right? So today what you need and what someone sitting next to you needs are going to be two very different things. And how do you actually, manage those multiple interests through the day? So as Jet Synthesis, we said we will play a key role in your daily digital life. At 5 a.m. in the morning, you'll make an affirmation, I won't get angry today, and we'll handhold you through that. But you're listening to some music in regional, you're playing a video game somewhere, maybe you're deriving your livelihood as an athlete, as an esports athlete for the country, and going to go and win an Olympic medal, because that's happening in the digital world with esports. We've got an Olympics now, which is going to get created. So you're going to find very different new opportunities that will come up for Gen Zs and Gen Alphas and Gen Betas, right? What one can create is the right environment to help each of those generations, each individual, unlock the best version of themselves. That's how we really think of our business, and I think this is how India as a country should be thinking, and probably the world, because if each individual can live up to their true potential, then everything works fairly well, because you will have, families, you will have, smaller enterprises, you will have, everyone actually being lifted up. And especially for a Viksit Bharat, I think that is what we want to see, India achieve.
It was a great speech, sir. Pleasure to hear you first. And what came in mind, given that I fall in the Gen Z category, is that what's the biggest wow factor when it comes to our generation that you see? And a lesson that we could learn from the ones that have brought Bharat where it stands now. Over to you, sir.
That is a question I should be asking you, right? But, for me, the wow factor is in every moment, every interaction with a Gen Z, right? I mean, I'm telling you because we learn and we invest, I think, over-invest in understanding this generation, because the starting point of the generation is that you don't get us, right? You don't understand us, right? I think when we were growing up, we never felt that. You felt a rebellion at some point in your life, at some age, everyone feels that. But here, in every Gen Z that I interact, and that is the beauty, right? You want to change the status quo, right? You come with no baggage and the youthful ability to be able to do that, right? Every revolution in the world, for positive change started with 5 people coming together, 10 people coming together. Today, you have a whole generation of people who are willing to stand for their causes, a very transparent generation. I mean, with social media, everybody lives their lives under public scrutiny, right? So I think it's a very different ingredient in this generation. And how do we as a country really leverage that? Because we are, the largest rising generation in the world. I mean, in the US, I chair the India version of the Aspen Ananta Center, and there's a huge grant given by the Bezos family, about $200 million to address values with the rising generation. My question is, where is the largest rising generation in the world? Right? We were having a discussion on the US and India. The largest rising generation is sitting here in this country. If we build the right values, we are able to unlock the true power in each one of that rising generation. Nothing can stop India from achieving its true potential. You add to that what we have as legacy, as a rich history. And today, as I was talking earlier, the tapping into that source of your ultimate creative potential is linked to a huge concept called consciousness. And I was in Boston at MIT, and MIT is saying the latest thing from the neuroscience department is consciousness, do we understand it, right? So there is this large Bharat knowledge heritage that we have, right, which was there. And today science is coming to a conclusion, and quantum is playing a large role to say that this is how the human operates. This is how the physiology of everything that is a state of matter comes from something that is non-physical, which is in a state of consciousness, and one which can unlock massive creative potential in each person. It's huge, right? When we think of that, I can't think of a better country than India to be able to position itself on the stage of global leadership. And that's the excitement that I think each one of you as Gen Z should see. That's the wow factor.
Actually, my question was, of course, based on what you spoke just now. There's no doubt that Indian heritage is going to play a big role in making the youth of India stand out when it comes to the world stage. What is your prescription for that? How can that be implemented? Thank you.
The beauty is there is no prescription. Because I'll tell you why. If you look at artificial intelligence today, artificial intelligence, especially when you look at generative, right? There are 2 forms. We've dealt with machine learning, we've dealt with structured data, and we've been able to create very, predictable, good outcomes, and that has created brilliant efficiency, etc. But when you have, unstructured data, when you have variables that you have never understood, how they will affect and impact and make a change, right? It creates a very different level of personalization that can be done today than ever before. Right? So the point is, what is right for you is not right for someone else. Right? So the moment you get into one form of a, structured thing for all, and that's what I was mentioning. For a Gen Z, we brought it down to smaller communities and interests, which are still significant. Right? But as we are going forward, if you ask me, to unlock that true potential, right, we have to be able to understand that person far better. And this applies not only for those who are delivering, some services to them, but to see how they can participate in the nation's development. Each person has a different capacity to do things for themselves, do things for your family, do things for your nation, do things with your friends, and do things for what you work. I mean, that is your life, right? If you are able to bring that about. So the prescription, if at all, is to be able to stir the imagination of young people, is to get people excited and create platforms that help them get and unlock their true potential better. To help that generation, work around, as I said, a set of non-negotiables which are true for India, that are true for the world today, right? Today, whether it is, it's very easy to say, we stand for peace and joy and love and prosperity, right? But each of those words mean a lot. And how do you actually live that to be able to create a world that is going to see that, right? So I think there are many aspects of that, and each platform can take up one of these areas and kind of, create an open platform for people to come and be able to, explore that. But a prescriptive form for this generation and for this India change would actually be, not the right thing to do. It's a framework that one can create within which we can see a lot of change happen.
Hello, sir. A very good evening. So I wanted to ask, what gives a legacy industrialist the confidence to bet on the digital future, like how you have done through your subsidiary Jet Synthesis?
When we were looking at our manufacturing businesses, and we were seeing that, okay, we've allocated capital, we've put a lot of infrastructure to be able to create products, for our consumers. The first thing I started to see that the only, expense item that kept going up was marketing, which clearly meant that, we are not able to, to serve our consumers correctly because, they probably moved on and we are forcing them to buy our products, right? And from there, creating more lines as Jetline to Jet Synthesis was to synthesize in near real time and deliver to a person in an asset-light model what they truly need. And hopefully, as we are now beginning to move into the next phase, predict what they're going to need, from today's time. And I think that was the shift. That was the shift that the power of digital is going to shape the future of each individual in some shape and form. Enterprises, governments, everything you see, whether everyone has a stakeholder, right? So today for a government, a citizen is a stakeholder. And we've seen the massive transformation that, say, Aadhaar or UPI has done for a country like India. So in every area you are going to see this big shift happen, that technology, digital, and now increasingly with AI personalization is going to be able to make that shift happen. We decided about a decade ago to get into that space, and we believe that, that shift was very deliberate. It is very different because everything changes. It's not just what you deliver, but it's also how you deliver, how you monetize, how do you create business models that survive and thrive in a new age economy. And we are seeing so many great examples of companies in India that started a decade ago. There's a surge of IPOs, right? And all of them have achieved some scale. Some of them will say we are disruptors, but what have you disrupted? You've disrupted a process, you've disrupted a business model, and you're being able to serve a consumer sharper and better and faster. In 15 minutes you can get anything you want, you will move there, right? The fact that you are making that choice today means that anything else I was doing to try and get that product to you is not going to work, right? So I think this opportunity is what is going to drive not only today, but I think increasingly going to drive the future, and the companies who get that and who get that right, will make that shift. So if we see the $1 trillion market cap companies that we talk about in the US today came off the internet generation, right? Whether you see Amazon, you see Facebook, Meta, you see all the countries, because internet came in, they were able to do it. Now, with AI coming in, and if it is as big a revolution as the internet, what is going to drive the future companies in 10 years from today? That's what you should be asking yourselves, especially those who want to become entrepreneurs and really, go out there and build that with the right set of non-negotiables for a country like India. And the India playbook is going to play out for the world, if not today, in the future, definitely for you.
Hello, sir. Talking about Gen Z, some people say that ambition is taking a back seat and work-life balance is becoming a priority. What do you have to say on that?
Again, as I said, it's different for different people, but ambition is always a product of what you can what you want to do, what you want to be, and how you will make it happen actually comes through your actions, right? And your efforts. So you have an ambition, and then you have an effort to make that ambition, to realize that ambition. So for those whose work and life and play are integrated, you'll find those crazy entrepreneurs who will work 20 hours a day, and you have one here at Republic. And I've seen that, who'll sleep on the studios and make it happen because you have that craze to be able to make that change happen in the world. The urgency to do things, is a very different kind of DNA, where your work, your life, your play, everything is immersed. So from one extreme like that to those who view it as a balance, because then you're creating a separate time for work, separate time for play, separate time for your ambition. But I think each person again will build it differently. What makes one different from the other is how you have built your inner self. And therefore I go back to there has never been a greater need than now for every individual to look inwards. Right? As I said, we created a Think Right platform because everything our education taught us is what you should say and do. Don't hit someone, or don't speak a lie. But the source of that is thought. I'm hitting someone because I'm getting angry. So if I make an affirmation in the morning, I won't get angry today, and I handhold you through the day, and you control that, you will obviously be a more productive person, and you will be able to, again, unlock that creativity from that source of ultimate potential that you have, right? And I think if you're not taking care of your inside today, it's going to be very hard because you're only managing situations, and then you want to balance your situations in life. But when you have that inner strength, and therefore we say from think right, to eat right, to move right, to sleep right, right life, right? If you can get that balance, and you can look into a phone, like you look at Google for your external world, we've created Right Life, where you look into a phone and you're able to understand yourself better. 72 parameters, what you should do now. And if you're in that zone, in that now moment, in that position, like right now I'm talking to you, I'm here with you discussing just this point, right? And you can move in that ability, or have that ability to do that, you will definitely be able to achieve a lot more. And you will see that life, work, balance, all in some harmonious way, start working together. And that's what we need. We need to create a generation of happy people. We need to create a generation of balanced people. We need to create a generation that is productive, not only for themselves, their families, but for the country. So thank you.
सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
So in the past, we would see most of the terrorists who would get arrested, they would be like the people who would be working at a very low level. But today we have seen the white collar suspect.
कश्मीर घाटी में डॉक्टर्स एक बहुत अल्टीमेट ड्रीम होता है वहां के लड़के लड़कियों का। उस बनने के बावजूद अगर आप रेडिकलाइज होकर अपने ही देशवासियों को मारने के लिए और अपने देश को तोड़ने के लिए तैयार हो सकते हैं, तो आप अंदाजा लगाइए किस तरह की रेडिकलाइजेशन हो रही है और इस फ्रंट पे हम क्या काम कर रहे हैं।
Investigators have identified Maulvi Irfan Wagha, also known as Imam Irfan, from Shopian in South Kashmir, as the mastermind who blended his dual identity, that of a preacher and healthcare worker, to influence and radicalize the educated youth.
The accusation against him is completely baseless. He had been there for 7 years, offering prayers, conducting religious classes, and teaching children at the religious center. He would come only occasionally.
We had no idea about the allegations against him, but we don't believe them. He is a good person. We don't know anything else.
According to the ongoing investigation, Maulvi used his access at GMC Srinagar and his sermons in Naugam's local mosques to identify and influence those he saw as easy targets, pushing them towards radicalization. He used social media to radicalize highly qualified professionals. During the questioning, Irfan
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Very good afternoon, viewers. You're watching Live and Breaking, and I am Rakshita Mishra with you. Well, there's an incendiary speech delivered by an AIMIM MLA of Hyderabad that has now sparked major political controversy. We'll tell you more about that, but first, the headlines. Amid Karnataka power tussle, DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah hold press conference together after a key breakfast meeting. Siddaramaiah said there are no differences between them. Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah said they will abide by High Command's decision and reiterate that Congress will return to power in 2028. Republic gets inside scoop of Karnataka power tussle. Sources tell Republic that Shivakumar unwilling to compromise. Airbus grounds 6,000 flights worldwide for urgent software update after JetBlue pitch down scare. Imran Khan's sister speaks to Republic TV, warning of chaos. Issues warning over Imran Khan's isolation, says Pakistan will be pushed into chaos. And Russian President Vladimir Putin to be on state visit to India on the 4th and 5th of December, holding key bilaterals with Prime Minister Modi. We have some breaking news coming in at the top of this hour, viewers. In the India Gate protest case, the controversy that had erupted, Patiala House Court has rejected the request of Delhi police seeking custody of 7 accused persons in the Parliament Street police station. Viewers, remember there were pro-Maoist slogans that were raised, and even pepper spray were used against the cops. Now, the court has sent the accused to 2 days judicial custody. The court has also listed the bail applications of the accused on the 1st of December. So 7 accused have been sent to 2-day judicial custody. Police custody has been denied. Shambhavi joins us live on the broadcast for more. Shambhavi, tell us more details about this case now. 2-day judicial custody for the accused.
Well, see, in this case, originally 6 people were arrested for protesting outside India Gate, that is the Kartavya Path area, and then later 17 were arrested for protesting outside the Parliament Street police station in support of those 6 people who were originally arrested. Now, out of 17 people, 9 of them were given bail. Left were 8.
Out of 8 people, all those 8 people were sent to judicial custody. But police later asked for police custody of 7 out of those 8 people, which the court today denied. The court said that they will not be giving the police custody for those 7 people. Instead, they actually remanded those 7 people to judicial custody. So now all 8 of them are in judicial custody. And the bail hearings of the same will be heard on 1st of December.
Shambhavi, what are the charges that have been pressed against the accused? If you could just shed some light on that.
Basically, the charges are related to assault, obstruction of public servants, and also outraging women's modesty. We also know that several slogans, including posters and different supportive slogans, were raised for Maoist leader Hidma. So these are the charges which are being raised, basically assault and obstruction of public servant. These are the main charges that they are actually arguing on. And we know that 7 at one place and 8 another place, so total of 17 people are in police custody and judicial custody.
Thank you so much, Shambhavi. We have some breaking news coming in right now. Jamaat Ulama Hind, the president and former Rajya Sabha MP Maulana Mahmood Madani has sparked another controversy as he slams the apex court, saying it does not deserve to be called supreme. In fact, he has addressed a gathering in Bhopal. Maulana Mahmood Madani said, and I quote, after the verdict into Babri Masjid, triple talaq and several other matters, it seems that courts are functioning under government pressure for a few years now. Madani further added that, I quote, we have several instances before that have raised questions on the character of courts. Supreme Court is eligible to be called supreme only when it follows the constitution and when it upholds the law. If it does not do that, it doesn't deserve to be called supreme. In fact, he has also made a comment on jihad. Listen it to Madani.
हर हुक्मरान का अव्वलीन फर्ज अपनी रियाया को इंसाफ फराहम कराना है। मुल्क में अमन व अमान का क़याम और जराइम से पाक मुआशरे की तश्कील इंसाफ के बगैर हो नहीं सकती, हो ही नहीं सकती। लेकिन अफसोस के साथ ये कहना पड़ता है कि गुज़िश्ता कुछ अरसे से बिलखुसूस बाबरी मस्जिद, तलाक़ सलासा जैसे बहुत से मसालों पर फैसले के बाद ये तासुर आम हो रहा है कि अदालतें हुकूमतों के दबाव में काम कर रही हैं। अक़लियतों के आइनी हुकूक और दस्तूर के बाद बुनियादी उसूलों की तशरीह की ऐसी मिसालें सामने आई हैं जिन्होंने अदालतों के किरदार पर सवालिया निशान लगा दिया है। मौजूदा वक्त में इबादत गाह एक्ट को नज़रअंदाज करते हुए ज्ञानवापी और मथुरा के मुकदमात को काबिल समाअत करार देने का फैसला भी उसकी एक वाज़ेह मिसाल है। याद रखिए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट उस वक्त तक ही सुप्रीम कहलाने का मुस्तहिक़ है जब तक आइन की पाबंदी करे, कानून के हुकूक का ख्याल रखे। अगर ऐसा न करे तो वो इखलाकी तौर पर भी सुप्रीम कहलाने का हकदार नहीं है।
So Maulana Madani has questioned the Supreme Court, says it shouldn't, questioning the word supreme, and he also goes on to talk about jihad. Viewers, in the same speech, in fact, he has said that there will be jihad if oppression continues, if oppression happens. That's a shocker coming in from the Jamaat chief, Jamiat Ulama Hind chief Mahmood Madani. He's been in the news for such controversial statements, divisive statements in the past as well. And now he has triggered a political straw by saying if there is oppression, there will be jihad, as he accuses the judiciary and government of undermining the rights of the minorities. Meanwhile, we are interrupted by some more breaking news. Viewers, Air India flight. An Air India flight has reported abnormal high-rate descent. Airbus has been asked to investigate it. Now, Air India A32, this is another A32 aircraft. So A320 aircraft, I beg your pardon, A320 NEO, operating AI Air India flight 2333 from Bangkok to Delhi experienced an unusually high descent rate of over 7,000 feet per minute today. The autopilot disconnected automatically, and the pilots took manual control to stabilize the aircraft. Flight data has been downloaded and shared with Airbus, which is analyzing the event to determine the cause. So that's another very, very dangerous development that we are learning about. Flight data has been downloaded, and Airbus has been asked to investigate this high-rate descent that has happened. It's abnormal, what we understand. AI flight. This is the Air India flight, and remember, Airbus already has grounded half of the fleet, and this is, of course, concerning about safety. We do not know if it is connected with the software issue or not. But yes, viewers, remember the A320 fleet has been grounded. Almost half of it has been grounded, and because of that, we see that the Indigo and Air India have warned of flight delays over the software upgrade. But this is a latest, this first from Republic TV that we are telling you about this flight that has in fact reported abnormal high-rate descent. Group Captain GP Bajpai joined us on the broadcast. For more, thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And Captain Bajpai, we see that there have been already, Airbus has been in the news, but now we talk about high-rate descent and abnormal descent. Sir, what does this really mean, and how concerning is this?
Ma'am, good evening to you and to millions of your viewers. This particular incident seems to be, though it is a little unusual, but it seems to be occasionally it happens, because the aircraft was flying at 25,000 feet and it descended at a rate of 7,000 feet per minute. More than 6,000 feet per minute rate of descent is acceptable. Beyond that, if the rate of descent increases, pilot is supposed to disengage autopilot and take the control on manual mode. And that's what precisely he has done it, since the pilot was alert. Simultaneously, whenever the rate of descent increases or goes beyond 6,000 feet per minute, he is supposed to report to their respective safety management system and the flight safety department. As it is clear, you have reported that subsequent arrival at the base, they have not found any other abnormality. They have to go into details why this has happened, and they have to initiate the corrective measures.
Right.
However, anybody would link with those 6,000 Airbus aircrafts being grounded for the software glitch. I was observing your TV in the afternoon also. It is very well, beautifully covered by Captain Khalid. And only one more thing I would like to update. There are almost 500 odd aircraft, 350 with the Indigo and 150 with the Air India of this category. Some of them, most of them, or few of them would have got this software glitch issue. There it is understood from the reliable sources that out of this 6,000 aircraft, 5,100 aircraft issue could be resolved by updating the software, which will take only 3-hour duration. And for remaining 900 aircraft, we have to update the software on the equipment itself, for which the grounding time might be little more, or the respective computer are required to be sent to OEM, that is Airbus.
Right, sir. Many thanks for joining us with those insights into that story, viewers. Thank you so much for giving us that understanding of this development, viewers. We'll keep a close eye. With that, viewers, we shift our focus to the other stories that we're tracking for you from across the country. This is Bharat in 2 minutes. DMK MPs meet at the party headquarters under the leadership of Chief Minister and DMK President M.K. Stalin. The meeting was convened to review the work reports submitted by the MPs. Issues related to this SIR, along with the overall performance of the MPs, will also be discussed during the meet. 12 Bangladeshi nationals and 1 Indian citizen have been arrested by Islampur police after a raid in Char Gopalpur village under Hurshi Gram Panchayat. Arrests based on information from a confidential source indicating that foreign nationals were being sheltered in the area without documentation. The Rouse Avenue Court in Delhi on Saturday again adjourned the passing of its order on whether to take cognizance of the Enforcement Directorate's charge sheet in the National Herald money laundering case. The court will now pronounce its order on the 16th of December. A layer of fog lingers above the Dal Lake as temperature dips. Minimum temperature recorded today was at minus 3.1 degrees Celsius. The maximum expected to reach 12.1 degrees Celsius. Despite a slight improvement in the air quality, Delhi's air continues to be in the very poor category. Talking about this morning, with the National Capital Region recording an average AQI of 341. Air quality saw a slight improvement on Friday with an average AQI of 369. Tragic accident occurred at Bodhi International School in Ratlam after 14-year-old students studying in class 8 suddenly jumped from the third floor of the school. The students suffered serious injuries and the school management immediately admitted him to a private hospital where doctors said that the child has fractures in both legs and the spine. His condition is said to be stable. Now, Al-Falah University continues to be at the center of the probe by agencies into the 10/11 Delhi car blast case. Several developments and revelations continue to surface regarding the terror doctors and the university's founder. Here's more.
In a startling discovery, NIA officials have recovered 18 lakh rupees in cash from the wardrobe of the suspected terrorist Dr. Shaheen. The money was concealed in a simple polythene bag inside room number 22 that belonged to Shaheen. On September 25th, Shaheen purchased a Brezza car using cash. The National Investigation Agency is now trying to determine the source of large sum. During the raid, the NIA also searched Shaheen's locker in the admin block of Al-Falah University campus. Meanwhile, the founder, Jawad Ahmed Siddiqui, is also under huge scrutiny and is believed to have routed funds through a UK-registered company linked to his son, who holds a UK citizenship. The ED has opened a parallel probe into the investment of those funds, suspecting they were obtained by misleading people and laundering money through son's overseas firm. In a separate development, the Delhi blast case continues to expand. The NIA has recorded statements from 30 doctors at Al-Falah Medical College. Those questioned have described the terror Dr. Omar as rude and selective about who entered his room. Investigators recovered 4 videos from Omar's phone. One shows him justifying jihad and human bombs. The other 3 are similar short clips lasting 3 to 5 minutes each. The phone is being analyzed to track down his accomplices. On the other hand, the Delhi police have issued a notice to private hospitals seeking information on doctors who graduated from Pakistan, Bangladesh, the UAE or China are now practicing in the capital. The multiple investigations into the cash stash, alleged fund routing through a university and the Delhi blast case highlight the web of financial and terror links that are now under investigation.
Shifting focus to Maharashtra, where AIMIM MLA from Hyderabad, Majid Hussain, has issued open threats at a rally in Maharashtra's Washim. Now, he's an MLA from Nampally of Hyderabad, Majid Hussain. He had come to address a rally at Bhagwanpura, and this is for the municipal elections. And he threatened the gathering, saying that if the matters come to us, streets will fall short. MLA's provocative remarks have gone viral on social media platforms. Listen in.
जब हमारे पे आएगी ना इंशाल्लाह गली गली कम पड़ेगी इंशाल्लाह। है मेरे बुजुर्गों, है मेरे नौजवानों, हल्ली से इत्तेहाद मुस्लिमीन है, बच्चों का खेल जब हमारे पे आएगी ना इंशाल्लाह गली गली कम पड़ेगी इंशाल्लाह।
Meanwhile, BJP has taken on the AIMIM over Hyderabad MLA Majid Hussein's threatening remarks. Listen.
महाराष्ट्र के वाशिम में AIMIM विधायक माजिद हुसैन का एक बहुत ही शर्मनाक बयान हम सभी के संज्ञान में आया है। मजहब को